Namaste. Namaste, everybody. Namaste. In presence of lit lamp, we will begin with Dhara Ayurveda Vision 2047. I am very excited to have all of you here on TDU campus. And we will begin with a very interesting invocation song, and then we will continue with the program.
ओषधीर्नामरूपाभ्यां जानते ह्यजपावने अविपाश्चैव गोपाश्च ये चान्ये वनवासिनः चरकसंहितासूत्रस्थानम्
মুখ বাগর ডোরে করি তুলা যাতে হকলবে মূর্ম ইমা দেখে মুখ হাতির ডোরে গহীন করি তুলা যাতে জগতে সায় রই ঘুরি खो रहे हैं हम यहाँ फिर खामोश क्यों जुबान शाम ढली नहीं तो क्या सो रहा है ये जहां खो रहे हैं हम यहाँ फिर खामोश क्यों जुबान शाम ढली नहीं तो क्या सो रहा है ये जहां मुझे बना दो कोई बाग मैं लगूं तो आलीशां मुझे बना दो कोई नाग मुड़ के देखे फिर जहां रंगीले यहाँ है फूल और पत्तियाँ गर हम ना रहे तो ये रहेंगे फिर कहाँ रंगीले है यहाँ है फूल और पत्तियाँ अगर हम ना रहे तो ये रहेंगे फिर कहाँ सुनो मेरी दास्तां हो रहा मैं लापता यूं न लो तुम बार बार मेरी ऐसी इम्तिहान ओ वन के रक्षक कर मेरी हिफाजत मैं भी हूँ आखिर इस वन की अमानत ओ वन के रक्षक कर मेरी हिफाजत मैं भी हूँ आखिर इस वन की अमानत धुंधली सी ये गूंज है मेरी मन्नत ओ वन के रक्षक
with that very rooted invocation song, I would like to invite the dignitaries on the dais. Her Highness Pramoda Devi Vadiyar. Ma'am, please come. Sir, our own MLA, our friend. Secretary Ayush, Vaidya Rajesh Kotecha ji. Our dignitaries have come to our own constituency, sir. So I request you to greet them. Our Pipali, with Pipali plant, we would like to greet them to this event. Yes. So, yeah, Murthy, sir. Yes. Sorry, Padma Shri Darshan Shankar, Vice Chancellor, TDU. Professor Murthy, he is the National Coordinator for Dhara from IKS, and our own Padma Shri Darshan Shankar ji. Have a seat. I profusely thank our MLA, Shri Vishwanath, to grace this occasion. He is in hurry to join the assembly last day today, but he still made time to come here and made it a point to come here. I am very thankful to him. And Ange Barta iri sir. Haudu sir. So now we will begin our main part of our inauguration program with welcome remarks by Padma Shri Darshan Shankar. He is Vice Chancellor TDU, and most of you know him, so I will hand over the stage to him.
Is the volume coming okay? Our heartfelt welcomes on behalf of all of you to Her Highness Pramoda Devi. She is a patron of the university for several years. She is our chief patron. The Secretary Ayush, Shri Rajesh Kotecha, welcome on behalf of all of you. He is an extremely busy, and I've seen how hectic program he has. This morning I think he must have woken up at 5:30 in the morning, left his place at 7 in the morning, I think rushed to Himalaya Drug Company and then finished that work there and then rushed back here. So you can see how hectic, I mean this is a part of his probably normal schedule. I welcome my friend Professor Murthy. He is actually the person behind this entire Dhara program from the Indian Knowledge Systems Division of the Ministry of Education, Professor Murthy. It's been a pleasure working with him for now almost a year. I welcome and acknowledge the presence of stalwarts who are present here, great clinicians from different parts of the country, teachers and faculty from Ayush institutions, as well as from science institutions, leaders who are leading a very important hospital services, of course the IKS team that has come down from Delhi, representatives of the Ministry of Culture. I also welcome folk healers in whose honor our invocation song was crafted, students, industry representatives and laypersons. I also welcome the media. Ayurveda Dhara is indeed a timely and I consider it to be a historic campaign. This is one event in that campaign. India needs to revitalize its health knowledge because of its contemporary relevance. The vision talks today and tomorrow will substantiate this contemporary relevance. My own dream, for which my colleagues have been working with passion for the last 28 years. So my own dream is that in the next 10 to 15 years, students seeking to learn medicine and health sciences globally should seek to study health sciences, not only going to places like Harvard and Cambridge, but indeed coming to Indian universities. The reason I am dreaming in this manner is that today we are in an emerging era of what we call complexity sciences. We do realize that knowledge has to become multicultural because no single intellectual or cultural tradition, these days the mainstream is the European intellectual cultural tradition, but really no single intellectual cultural tradition can do justice to the complexity that we see in nature. And therefore we need to combine different cultural perspectives on knowledge. India can be one of the leaders in this process of complexity science, given our rich knowledge heritage across domains, ranging from mathematics to logic to medicine to the arts. I visualize the future of health sciences globally will of course include Ayurveda because of its deep systemic principles, concepts, methods, therapies and so on and so forth. But the Ayurveda that we should visualize in 2047 must focus on collaborative interfaces with advanced biology, which includes physics, chemistry, engineering and bioinformatics, public health, information technology and the social sciences. It must include collaborative interfaces. No dilution of the principles of Ayurveda, not at all. But it should include collaborative interfaces across these various disciplines and also must begin to focus on the emerging paradigm of what we are now calling One Health, in which Ayurveda has a unique contribution to make, One Health, because this is one knowledge system which combines applications for human beings, what we normally refer to as Ayurveda, for livestock, what we refer to as Pashu Ayurveda, as well as for agriculture, Vriksha Ayurveda, and of course for the environment. I'll end this words of welcome by saying that Ayurveda 2047 must empower both health professionals all over the world, not only in India, and also millions of laypersons. I once again thank all of you and the dignitaries present on the dais for gracing this occasion. Thank you.
Thank you, DS. And now we would request Her Highness Pramoda Devi ji to give us blessings. She always keeps showering her blessings on us, but we want more and more. So for this Dhara event, we want her special blessings. So I invite Her Highness to deliver.
ಎಲ್ರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ಮಾರ್ನಿಂಗ್ Professor and Vice Chancellor Darshan Shankar, Secretary, Ministry of Ayush, Professor Murthy, and all the invitees, ladies and gentlemen. I'm delighted to be here this morning to participate in this Ayurveda Dhara event organized at the TDU, Trans-Disciplinary University, Bangalore. I congratulate the Ministry of Ayush, the Ministries of Culture and Education for sponsoring this event. It's always a pleasure. I keep repeating the same thing to Professor Darshan Shankar. It's always a pleasure to visit this university and the clinic across the road. And I must have come here several times, and I think at least I make a visit once a year. I have been associated with TDU for last 7 years, and I'm a well-wisher and fully support the TDU initiative on integrating Ayurveda and biology. The focus of integrative health management would be to restore and maintain wellness throughout an individual's lifespan. The approach of integrating traditional medicines with modern biomedicine is rapidly becoming popular in the healthcare sector as well as in life science research. I am of the opinion that Ayurveda and Indian system of medicine can play a pivotal role in this transdisciplinary knowledge synthesis. I am very happy to be part of this Ayurveda Dhara 2022, and I extend my best wishes and successful conduct of this event, which is going to be next 2 days, and my best wishes to TDU and their future endeavors. Thank you.
Ashwini. So it's very nice to see this gathering, and getting blessings from Her Highness is really very special for us. So I just want to mention, ma'am, that there are several people who are on campus at different locations, and as well as there are several others who are watching this event online, and there are several others also participating in the event online, and then there are several others who are watching the YouTube streaming which is happening. So there are many thousands of people watching this event right now, and having so many people post-COVID is a very happy moment for all of us, and equally important that we have learned, all of us have learned to be, how to be online and how to grasp everything being at a distance. So now moving to the next part, I request Professor Murthy to tell us more about what is this Dhara and why, how it was conceptualized and how we are taking it forward. He is from his national coordinator IKS, Indian Knowledge Systems, the organization which is part of Ministry of Education.
मातृभ्यो नमः, पितृभ्यो नमः, गुरुभ्यो नमः, सभायै नमः, सभापतिभ्यश्च नमो नमः. Her Highness Pramoda Devi ji, Vaidya Rajesh Kota ji, and then Professor Darshan Shankar ji, our friend, mentor and guide for IKS Division. and all the Vidvajjanaha here. Namaskara, Sadhana Namaskara, Sadhana Pranamaha. So very warm welcome to this third event in the Dhara series of conferences that we are organizing in collaboration with the Ministry of Culture. Jointly we both do this, Ministry of Education and Ministry of Culture. How did we conceptualize this and what is the idea behind this? For that I would like to go back a little bit and talk about what is this Bharatiya Jnana Parampara Vibhaga, what is our mission to do, what is it that we want to do in that. In that we are essentially trying to promote all aspects of Indian knowledge systems, Bharatiya Jnana Parampara, starting all aspects, starting all the way from and contributing all the way from the school education to the higher education, research, and basically, if I have to say it in one sentence, right now because of all the historical reasons and things like that, Indian knowledge systems, which was a flourishing parampara which made the Bharat, India, one of the big cultural superpowers of and economics and intellectual superpowers of last so many millennia, was kind of in a dormant state. And essentially it is now restricted to kind of the libraries. And what we are doing at the IKS Division is to bring out the Indian knowledge systems from the libraries to laboratories, so that we can have more Charakas, more Shushrutas, more Vagbhatas, and more Tyagarajas, and more Aryabhattas come from our Bharat. And because this is a Jnana Parampara, we need to nurture that traditions and then take it forward. That is entirely the kind of the vision that we have for the Bharatiya Jnana Parampara Vibhaga. And we have one thing that we say in our Bharatiya Jnana Parampara exists in Bharatiya Bhashas. And the expression that it finds is through our Bharat's culture. And therefore, we have collaborated with Ministry of Culture to look into various facets of Bharatiya culture where Bharatiya Jnana Parampara is being expressed. So this Dhara series of conferences was conceptualized as some kind of a this continuity of this parampara that is taking place, and how can we visualize and look at 2047, which essentially is marking the 100th year of independence from the Britishers, and especially the next 25 years, which our Prime Minister also calls as the Amrit Kal. How do we basically use this time, Amrit Kal, to launch ourselves, our country, back to that civilizational position that it was in? And for that, we need to look into various aspects of our Bharatiya Jnana Parampara. So, we started off with India's contribution to mathematics. That was the first Dhara conference. Second conference was focused on cultural aspects of Bharatiya Jnana Parampara and looking at all the intellectual traditions. This third one is focused on the Ayurveda Loka, essentially looking at where Ayurveda is and how do we take it to, what do we visualize it as in 2047. The next conference in Dhara series is going to be on India's martial arts traditions. Then after that we are looking into the basically the maritime traditions and foreign policy of India. And how did we conduct that and what it should be in next 25 years. After that we are looking into the music and dance traditions of India. After that, we are looking into the agricultural traditions of India. After that, Rasayana Shastra, and then metallurgical traditions of India. These are some of the things that we have planned as these Dhara events will occur every month. And this particular Dhara event is setting the context for something much, much larger. And the idea is Ayurveda is India's contribution to the world. And this is something that it is present and we need to take it to the world, and for that, how do we visualize it in 2047 is the whole concept here. But this is going to be only a kick-off event for what is going to be a month-long celebrations in collaboration with Ministry of Ayush, Ministry of Culture and Ministry of Education. And you can see how all aspects, the multidisciplinary aspects of Bharatiya Jnana Parampara is coming together, and we are so fortunate that we have TDU who is implementing this and working with us, and we are working together and then actually organizing this here in TDU, because TDU's concept, the way that they have foundational philosophy is something that we really want to see. As Professor Darshan Shankarji was just mentioning a minute ago, contemporariness, what is this relevance today, and then how can we take it forward is something that we are looking forward, and that was the vision with which the whole Dhara series of conferences were conceptualized. And again, you will see mixture of all kinds of stakeholders in these conferences, and especially importantly, we'll see a lot of Jan Bhagidari. We want to connect to the common people, and this is one of the main aims of all the Dhara events. And I hope you will have a good time here, and you will get to learn a lot, and you will come back and incorporate Ayurveda into your lives as you go forward, and also take it to the people and be involved in this Jnana Yajna of the Bharat for the next so many years of your life, for the rest of your lives. With those words, I would like to thank you all. Namaste.
Thank you, Murthy sir. It's a kind of rare occasion when three ministries together are doing a program, and which is hosted by TDU. So one of the organizers and the main sponsors of the event is Ministry of Culture. And Ministry of Culture is sponsor of Dhara series as a whole. And we have the Secretary, Ministry of Culture, Shri Govind Mohanji, who has been kind enough to send us a video clip which we would like to share with all of you. And so this was really great. He's been very, very supportive. He did not make us feel the distance between Delhi and Bangalore. The support was full time there. So we are very thankful to him, and Professor Shri Govind Mohanji.
Good morning. Dhara is an initiative of the Indian Knowledge Systems Division of the Ministry of Education at AICTE in collaboration with the Ministry of Culture to systematically highlight the significant contributions of Bharat. The objective of this scheme is to create awareness, promote knowledge, inspire research, and increase the active interest base regarding the different dimensions of various domains of Indian knowledge systems for concerned stakeholders from academia to practitioners to their beneficiaries across all strata of society. In order to achieve this, the Indian Knowledge Systems Division and the Ministry of Culture jointly launched the Dhara series of events on 25th February 2022. Every Dhara event focuses on two key aspects. First, visioning what the particular area should look like in 2047 and how we can achieve that vision. And secondly, the emphasis on Jan Bhagidari, the involvement of people in any particular topic. Turning to the concept behind the Ayurveda Loka, this Dhara event is focused as part of the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav on Ayurveda and is being jointly organized by the Ministry of Culture, the IKS Division, the Trans-Disciplinary Health Sciences Institute of Bangalore in collaboration with the Ministry of Ayush, along with a dozen partnering organizations. The Dhara event on Ayurveda will encompass over 23 talks focusing from the thought leaders in Ayurveda from academia, industry and policy makers. The talks will focus on presenting the historic and the scientific aspects of Ayurveda. They will also discuss how various paths to incentivize the mainstreaming of Ayurveda by promoting changes around regulation, IP protection, standards and certification in Ayurveda can seamlessly be brought about. In addition to this visioning exercise, there will be a partnership with over 800 traditional healers to provide free health checkups, home remedies, culinary experiences, plant identification workshops, ethno-veterinary practices, and nature walks for school children and student competitions. Regardless of who you are, there is a program designed specially for you in this Dhara event. This event also marks the beginning of a month-long celebration of Ayurveda and involves multiple events throughout the month, culminating in the World Ayurveda Day on 23rd October on the occasion of Dhanteras, the birthday of Dhanvantari. I wish this event all success, and I look forward to organizing further events on Dhara with the IKS Division of the Ministry of Education. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Anuradha ji and Murthy sir, for arranging this, so we didn't miss it. Now there are some more interesting things coming up, but I request the dignitaries, because we would like to I like them to watch it from there. So if you can be seated there, sir, Kotecha sir, it's your turn. So you be here and the rest all can be seated below on the sofa. Thank you. One of the very innovative sub-event of this big program of Dhara Ayurveda Vision 2047 was the competition. The competition is based on, it was for students from everywhere, all the streams, and it was, the concept was, once again, Jobin, can you put on the competition PPT? The concept was that they have to come up with a very good idea, which is Ayurveda inspired and deals with either human health or animal health or plant health. That means Ayurveda, Pashu Ayurveda and Vriksha Ayurveda. So this was the broad spectrum, and it was very nice to see that the students were so enthusiastic. It was something different for them, and they participated. We got 130 entries, which each team had multiple people. It was most of the teams were very multidisciplinary, and that's again a very big thing, very good thing to see that they are working together. Multiple disciplines are working together at the student level. So that was the unique feature, and the jury involved very of course acclaimed people from the field of industry, academia and physicians, and all of them had a very different perspective, but still the results were very collaborative kind of nature, and everything converged very well, and that was very nice to see. And we would like Vaidya Kotecha ji to come at the podium and declare the winners of the competition. That's so, sir, you can see that all the prizes, it was a tough competition. Point by point, there was a difference in decimal points in the scores. So we could not restrain ourselves from giving the prizes to more than one team at all positions, first, second and third. And you can see that both the prize winners, first prize winners are from Pashu Ayurveda. And that's something very different and very innovative ideas. And I think Megha will be available, and she is the person from TDU who conducted this competition very ably. And if you are interested, please talk to her. Some of the prize winners are also there on campus, so we can discuss. They can be given opportunity to talk to all the special invitees, people from different fields, and then there were other ideas were also very good, and it was a very close competition. So thank you, sir. Thank you for that. And now we will have keynote address from Sir Vaidya Kotecha ji, and then we'll proceed further. Sir, please. I would like to introduce, sir, that one of the very dynamic secretary which Ayush Ministry has got. He is, and DS has said enough, but I would like to say that I myself, such a junior person, has gone to Ayush, to his office, and I was never felt that I am considered very, he considers everybody with lot of respect. He gave me time, he spoke with me, and be it a big conference, be it his office, He talks to everybody, encourages everybody, and that's very, very good for Ayush, I feel, and it has changed the atmosphere of Ayush for the country, and one of the main reasons for that, I would say that he being there, his dynamic presence at Ayush Ministry. So please, sir, please deliver your keynote address.
Respected Her Highness Rajmata ji, Pramoda Kumari ji, Sri Darshan ji, Professor Murthy ji, Professor Bhushan Patwardhan ji, all dignitaries, dear colleagues, the practitioners, healers came from all across the country in this Dhara event. My colleagues from Ministry of Culture, Ministry of Education, you can see that this event could be the showcasing of how whole of the government approach works. You know, our Honorable Prime Minister brought in this culture into the governance all across the country, that there is no silos now. All of these people, they work together and deliver. It's a good example, this Dhara event, that I am Secretary Ayush and participating into an event which is supported by Ministry of Culture and Ministry of Education, and then we all work together. And we are talking about Ayurveda, Indian knowledge system. This is a very good example. And as mentioned by my colleague, Sri Govind Mohan ji, that this is a kind of part of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, one of the important event as a part of the celebration of not only Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, but also leading to a 1 month long series of events leading to the Ayurveda Day celebration on 23rd of October, that is Dhanteras or Dhanvantri Jayanti. What I am going to talk about this, very briefly, but also wanted to mention something very authentically with all responsible statements, that what is happening and what are the vision. Incidentally, today only, Culture Secretary, Education Secretary, they both are working on finalizing the 2047 vision of social group of ministries. So Ayush, health, sports, culture, education, those are having, is a social group of secretaries group, and we are finalizing this to present in front of the Council of Ministers. So this is the final day, and I was supposed to be there, but I am participating here. My colleagues are there. Govind Mohanji and Education Secretary, they are the coordinators. They are finalizing at the same time. This time. So this is very good coincidence that I am also talking about 2047 perspective. The global positioning, can I get this document so that I don't lose? So global positioning of Ayush or Ayurveda is very important for by 2047, and it's not only one aspect but every aspect. It could be medical value travel or heal in India, or providing professionals of traditional medicine across the world, or benchmarking of world class industry, or public health spheres, and so on. Also academia, like Darshanji mentioned, that people should come to India in Indian universities to learn about the Indian knowledge system, Ayurveda and others. Then also there is another goal for the global positioning, is to ensure that these Ayush based expertise, treatments, therapeutics and practices of not only preventive but also curative, rehabilitative and holistic health reach to one and all. It is interesting that when we participate into the events or talk to the people who is outside of the Ayush domain, usually what we listen is that we are the people of wellness. So we are restricted to wellness thing. So we are expected that Ayush sector should provide wellness to the people, and there is no sensitization that Ayush can contribute a lot to the curative aspect at even tertiary care level. So that part is, to be disseminated and to be strengthened. Then for that we need to look at this promotion of credible, affordable, accessible and holistic form of healthcare system, and without inclusion of Ayush it is not possible. Also, when we look at this, all these practices, like in our invocation song also, Darshanji also, I was sitting beside him, he was mentioning, and I was quite impressed with this song, that all this evolution, it came from, a very, very small contribution from traditional healers, and then it evolved over the centuries and then became a codified science. And now it is time to look at the mechanistic aspects, how it works, and then talking in the terms of the people of science who understands it, and talking in the terms of their understanding, so that we can disseminate, we can reach to the decision makers and large scale community who is engaged into public health delivery system. And lastly, I also want to mention that it's not only R&D, world class R&D inclusion, but also inclusion of technology into Ayush. So without technology driven thing, I was impressed with these competitions and the area of competitions. That is the future, that without inclusion of technology, we cannot achieve the scaled up sector. So scaling up is also required to have inclusion of technology. When we talk about technology, it is interesting that for a practitioner, when a patient comes to the practitioner, the general mindset or general perception is that these practitioners do not require technology because they are the Nadi people, they will take Nadi, they are not supposed to use any technology. If they use technology, they are termed as they are doing mixopathy. Actually, we need to change this narrative. Science is everybody's domain, and advancement of science should be used for every different science on the earth. So using of technology is also one of the important aspect for inclusive growth of Ayush systems and inclusion of Ayush in large scale public health delivery system and all other sectors. So I will talk about these sectors independently, and I am sure I will finish my talk in time.
Yes, you are very much in time.
So what I did, that I tried to make present status and what we can achieve in by 2047. These are the larger goals, but we have a lot of good metrics. So it's not just vision, this is not just illuminating and daydreaming, but it's actually possible. There are some good benchmark, and then we can reach there. Like by now we were able to identify the gaps. What is the gaps of having inclusion of Ayush systems into public health delivery system. So now we are having this very good model of National Ayush Mission, National Health Mission working together, and then working together we have helped us to learn a lot. And how to get this into mainstream public health delivery system is also, there are paths developed, like since so many years Darshanji and TDU team and lot of NGOs and public civil society is arguing about inclusion of fourth layer of healthcare delivery system, and now it is being seriously discussed, Darshanji, and probably it will get included. So those kind of developments are going on. Then reducing the burden on existing medical care system by appropriate integration of evidence-based traditional medicine. When we talk about evidence-based medicine, it is interesting that whatever is evidences are there are so good, there are many, but generally these mainstream scientists, mainstream practitioners, they don't care. They are not willing to look at that. This is more true than generating evidence. Evidences are there. There is a need of more. But it do not mean that we don't have evidence. So this is like a gap area. We have to visualize that, how to disseminate these evidences to them and how to talk to them, how to create a bridge. And also last is Ayush as a sports medicine. Recently, with the help of Department of Sports, we were able to declared this Yogasana as a sport. It is very new. There was a lot of debate among the yoga community whether yoga can be considered as a sport. But we had a humble argument that we are not talking about the entire yoga. Ashtanga yoga is very big. Yam, niyam, asan, pranayam, pratyahar, dharana, dhyan, samadhi is very big. But out of that, we are just talking about asana. So can yogasana can become a sport, a competitive sport? And it was agreed upon. Now, Government of India has formally notified as a category of sports. So with all the benefits of having category of sports for the reservation into the education institutions or even getting government job, etc. But more importantly, what we are visualizing is that maybe we can have certain like 20, 16, 20, 24 gold medals into the Olympics, and it is being seriously worked upon now. In Indian Games it is coming, in few years it will come in Asian Games, and then it will come in Commonwealth Games, and ultimately by 2034, 2038 it will get included into the Olympics. So visualize that who is better in Yogasana? No other than Indians. Sometimes it happens that in Kabaddi Iran won the gold medal once upon a time. But still, there is a big scope of having a big chunk of medals in Olympics once it is included. Then also, expanding infra to plug gaps in secondary and tertiary care hospitals access. Now we have got good benchmark models of tertiary care and secondary care. Like, in almost all district hospitals, there is an Ayush facility. In private sector, there are wonderful tertiary care hospitals, best hospitals. I know one of the leader is here, Rajiv ji, he is having a talk about that. So, is also one of the thing, and 2 more minutes. Then, so this is about the healthcare. Then industry. In industry, did you know, I will need 2 more minutes, extra 2 more minutes. So, did you know that since 2014, the industry, manufacturing industry grew by 6 times. So in 7 years, from $3 billion, it became $18 billion industry in 6 years. And now we are visualizing that it will grow multiple times, like 50 times by 2047. And through this calculation, we are also visualizing that it will contribute 5% of GDP of our country in 2047. So this is another benchmark that we are visualizing. Of course, favorable environment is there as of now, but then we are looking at the scale of world-class scale, that is for 2047. Ayush in the ongoing parallel discussions. So, Honorable Prime Minister just recently during SCO meet, he mentioned about having under India's leadership in SCO, he mentioned that we are willing to create a forum for traditional medicine SCO. Similarly, G20, we are also proposing a forum of traditional medicine G20. In BIMSTEC, it is already there. In ASEAN, it is already there. In EU also, there is a separate committee, expert committee, joint working group of Ayurveda and EU. So, lot of things are happening. But what we want to do is that through these platforms and through one-to-one dialogue, through multilateral dialogue, we want to make sure that this reach to the world, access of these traditional Indian sciences to the world. And also we should not miss about the service industry, medical value travel. And as of now, we have 30% contribution out of 6 billion industry. We are number 12 in the world. We want to become number 1 in the world in 2047 with at least 70% contribution from our sector and having size of at least $50 billion. And then also If Ayush industry will not provide the zero waste sustainable solution, then what other industry will provide? So this is also one of the goal. Education, we have reforms, we have upskilling of professionals in multidisciplinary, Darshanji mentioned about that. We have technological infrastructure upgradation. What we are visualizing is that it should be having world-class institutions across the globe, at least one Ayush institution, top 10 institutions of the world, and at least 33 million professionals and 100 additional center of excellencies. Now, as of now, we have COEs in IITs and IIMs and AIMS, but there are so many more possibilities. Then research. We talked about research, but then our goal is there are so many things have already happened, like WHO Global Center for Traditional Medicine recently established in India. But then we want to visualize that at least we should at least achieve 1 or 2 Nobel Prizes in traditional medicine from India. At least 20 to 30 Ayush based botanicals. As of now, in 75 years, we were not able to develop even one drug to the world. We are talking about 20 to 30. And predictive, preventive and personalized medicine model, that is also one of the goal. Tech enabled Ayush. I would like to mention that recently, just 2 days before, we have proposed this, we have proposed this AI driven Ayush sector in ITU focus group. I was in Helsinki the day before yesterday, and we have proposed this. There are a lot of things are happening, but then AI driven large scale manufacturing plants and all this India lead 27 is we are visualizing for tech enabled, and at the end this is roadmap. For this roadmap, transforming healthcare delivery system, robust accreditation framework, innovation leadership. That is what we are visualizing, and our Prime Minister says Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan, Jai Vigyan and Jai Anusandhan. So we are committed to achieve that from Ayush sector, and with the whole of the government approach, as mentioned, with the goal of One Health, and this One Health have different aspects of having collaborations with different sectors like Ayurveda biology program or different sectors, particularly basic science people. That is what we are visualizing. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot. A very, very insightful talk, sir. 2 minutes. I request Her Highness Pramoda Devi ji to give us token of. Okay. We have very packed program after the tea break. So tea break, we will have to start again at 11:10. Everybody has to be seated here again, and we will have to start our vision talk program. And thanks everybody for attending the inauguration program and being here. Please come back for vision talks. I can guarantee there are very interesting talks coming ahead. So I look forward to have you again here, back in the room at 11:10. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. we begin the vision talks for today with Professor TDU Gurmeet Singh ji, and he is IIT chemical engineer, then Penn State PhD, and then has 20 years of experience in food technology in the leadership position in a multinational. We are fortunate to have him as a faculty in TDU. He has a very different way of looking at food and ahar, and he will share some insights in his talk. Welcome, GS. Welcome to the dais. And if you can, you are okay with this?
Yes, I'm
Yeah. And GS, there is a timer at the back, so you can, if you want to track the time.
All
Thank
set.
you.
Thank you. I'm audible? Yeah? Yeah. So, thank you so much, firstly, the organizers for giving me this opportunity, this platform to share some of the ideas, and thank you all for being here. And what I'm going to take the next 13, 14 minutes is talk about health and food and nutrition. Food is very fundamental to us, right? So how do the two connect for together? Yeah, and for the last century or so, our focus on health has largely been on the curative aspects of health, treatment of diseases we call, right? And while that has been of great success, right, and we've learned a lot, we've treated a lot of diseases, of late we've realized that we are beginning to fail on many fronts with that curative approach. Yeah? First, it is extremely expensive, and to deliver good health care to everybody, right, we need to look at very different type of solutions. And secondly, when you look at things like metabolic health, diabetes, cardiovascular health, you look at brain health, we are struggling with our conventional curative approaches to deliver solutions. Yeah? Even things like iron deficiency anemia, it's almost a century of efforts, and we still do not have successful approaches to it. Short time, yes, we've been able to address, but over a long time of human life, we've not been able to address that. So what we are trying to look at is there is a focus globally which is now moving towards food first solutions, right, which balance the curative, complement it with the preventive aspects, yeah, as well. So when we look at food first solutions, there are three large theories, right, to how to look at food first solutions. The first, of course, is the most prevalent one, the classical food chemistry, which talks about simply put, classical food chemistry is what we are studying in our schools and colleges, and it says that, hey, food chemistry should reflect body chemistry, right? And that's where all the RDAs, etc., that's the beginning of everything. Right? Of late, since 2002, the gut theory or the food and microbiome theory has also started becoming extremely popular, which is saying, hi, the classical food seems to focus on the 20,000 genes that we have, but hey, there are 2 million genes that are there in our microbes, so we need to pay attention. In fact, that should be the first that we should pay attention to. So feed our gut, right, should be fundamental, and they'll build the classical theories on top of it, layer the classical theories on top of it. The third one that we feel that we put at the foundation, we feel there is a merit in both classical and food microbiome, but we see at the foundation we probably need to put Ayurahar, the Ayurvedic principles, dietary principles, the Ayurveda culinary principles, right? Why? Because if we really want a preventive approach and maybe even a curative approach, yeah, coming from food first solution, we have to go personalized. Yeah. The population level guidances that we have, 2000 calories, 55% coming from carbohydrates, cannot deliver what we wish to from food first solutions. Right? So why personalized, right? I think again over the last 2 decades or so, while we had intuitively known that all of us are different from each other, I look left, I look right, I look different from everybody else, but over the last 20 years we've been beginning to quantify, right, ourselves and see how we are different. Of course, most popular, I think there is no pointer. Huh? So of course, we look at this is pointer. This also. Oh yeah, okay. Yeah. So yeah, so we all know that our genotype is different from each other. 2002 we managed to read our genotype. We know we are very different from each other based on our genotype. Since then we've realized that our microbiomes are also different. In fact, we are more diverse in our microbiomes. Rob Spector's work from UK, which study on twins, which found out that hey, while huge similarity in the genotype among twins, but the microbiome are extremely different, only 30% similarity there. We know from homeostasis with these wearable devices that each one of us responses, our trends in heartbeat, our trends in temperature are extremely different from each other. If I walk out from a cold environment to a warm environment, right, how my circulation changes will be very different from yours to come back to a stable body. And with the continuous glucose monitoring units, lipid profile measurements, inflammation measurements, post-eating, we also understand and can quantify our metabolic responses to food. Right? So we are hugely different from each other. And therefore, personalization, the concept that personalization of food is going to be essential if you want it to be a effective preventive and curative solution. Right? And therefore, Ayurveda needs to be at the foundation of this food revolution, food first solution, because Ayurveda is all built on personalization, right? Personalization through the algorithms of Prakriti and Dosha, right? We are each have a distinct Prakriti mapped onto food properties, characteristics, the doshic properties of food, and therefore we have a matching algorithm to the two. We have established links of our phenotypes to, if you look at Sama Dosha, Sama Agni, Sama Dhatu, Malakriya, Prasanatma, Indriya, Mana, and so on. Right? There are concepts of balances which are based on our individual prakritis, right? And so therefore, starting here as the foundation and coupling it with the Dravaguna Shastra, the individualized the properties of food, can lead to a framework for personalized nutrition. So now how would that operationalize, right? So the next chart attempts to operationalize that through through the schema. This is where at the heart of this, of course, is the individual, right? And the individual is characterized by the body type, the prakriti, and current status. We are eating something, and we have a current well-being, which characterizes us. And taking these inputs, so of course, my well-being, I could be something. And this is my Vikruti right now, or my well-being, my health status right now. So there is an error between what I should be and what I could be, right? And similarly, maybe there is something which I should be eating, my personalized diet, my ideal diet, but I am eating, this is my real diet, so there is an error. So the whole concept Ayurveda is, in a sense, that if I can minimize the error in my inputs and have them as close to as my Prakriti dictates, then the error in my health will also be minimal, right? So that's the approach that is there in Ayurveda. And so what we're trying to say is, could that be now put together into an algorithm which is operationalized by a AI or a ML which resides on our watches and can be self-administered therefore, right? And that will be delivered through, of course, what it will require, these algorithms which will help minimize, will, sorry. Yep. So yeah, so they can be operationalized. They will require a lot of back-end databases to operationalize the back-end of microbiome, of food chemistry, but also the Ayurveda databases, the Dravaguna properties of foods, built on the seasonality algorithms, the circadian rhythm, as we call the sun within and without, right? The Agni inside and the Agni outside. So the seasonality rhythm and the circadian rhythms. And then all the samskara, the food recipes, sensorials, indices, the anthropometrics, blood chemistry, our postprandial responses. So we put together our body type information, these databases, and our actual health and actual diet, and arrive at a personalized diet, right, algorithm. The key challenge, one of the key challenges to develop such a system, of course, is, and to make it a mass personalization, right? There are attempts to personalization which are happening around the world, but I would say almost they are elitist attempts because it will require almost a couple of lakh rupees to start off there. But if we really want to transform and provide a health solution for the masses, we need to get to a personalized tool for the masses, and which will require very reliable self-administered softwares for generating our Prakriti, my body typing, and my current assessment, a quantified assessment of my health, right? So these are quantified descriptive analysis, almost like QDAs, quantified descriptive assessments of my body type and my health which we require. And the foundations of these are present, the methodologies, the framework, the questionnaires are there in Ayurveda. For example, Prakriti, there are about 140 or so phenotypic characteristics given in Charaka Samhita, which have been clustered together into about 20 gunas, which are further clustered into about 3 doshas, which then define the Prakriti of an individual. Similarly, what we just mentioned on the previous slide, that assessment of health, that is Sama Dosha, Sama Agni, Sama Dhatu, and so on, the framework is there, and the questions are also there. So you could arrive at scoring, quantified scorings of both these by taking this. But what we need to, the challenge is, can we get to a self-administered, something which is as good as possible, but not mediated through a Vaidya or an health expert, but through self-administration, because that really brings the cost. So we're working on those. We have our first versions ready that we are field testing and validating, and we are on this journey to actually take this forward. So of course, to the other things which are required there are the Ayurveda softwares and databases, right? We are creating a database in this university where we've looked at about 34 classical texts spanning from about 1500 BCE to about 16th century texts, 34 texts, and mined about 2000 plus recipes from there. And then mind the ingredients from there, and then the rasa panchakas, dosha karmas of those ingredients, then on to the extending the food composition tables, the 200 or so 180 parameters that NIN has in its food, to extend that to all the other ingredients that we have mined. We have now about 1500 ingredients as opposed to 542 which are there in NIN. And then building the food chemistry properties, the food microbe and microbiome interactions, the molecules and the sensory profiles. Because remember, when it comes to food, it's always taste plus health, never health plus taste, right? So we have to focus on sensory properties as well. And the emerging properties, right? The antioxidant indices, the glycemic indices, the ADME properties, the sensory properties, etc. of these. And along with the algorithms to link these properties, the Ayurveda properties, with the science, modern science properties. So, I'd like to thank, I think on the first chart I had the logo of RIST. RIST is Rural India Supporting Trust, which has given us some seed money to found some of these, to seed some of these ideas and build programs. And then we are on a journey to explore other opportunities to go deeper into this. But yeah, so finally I think for Vision Ayurveda 2047, what we're trying to propose is that that this food concept of preventive health operationalized through our daily food has to be a strong element, and India is poised to deliver that because of our rich food heritage, which is not just what we eat and the diversity of foods that we eat, but coupled with all the knowledge we have from the health perspective and the personalization perspective from Ayurveda. Now, if you look at modern literature, the focus largely is on what to eat, right? Where if you look at Ayurveda, it is not just what to eat, but how to eat and when to eat, right, is also in there. And it's when these three things come together is when you have a holistic health solution. So what to eat, personalized with the Prakriti, and then with the Ritucharya and the Dinacharya into how we put it into our daily lives and it becomes a ritual, is what we have to offer for the global, as a mass personalization. Thank you. Thanks, Ashwin.
One small token of appreciation from us. Yes, sir. So our next speaker in this vision talk, Dhara Ayurveda Vision 2047, is Vaidya Narendra Pense. He practices in Pune and he is visiting physician in IIM, TDU. And to introduce him, he has very deep insights in Shastra. At the same time, he has a very good grip on contemporary health needs and what can suit this contemporary health, contemporary situation. So that is very well reflected in his practice and the teaching which he does in many colleges and the students who are there and how they are practicing. So all that put together, we can see a very contemporary Vaidya with Vaidya Narendra Pense. Please, sir, we would like to hear you. Sir, are you comfortable with?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
No problem. Well, I am thankful to the organizers for calling me here, and I think Charak has mentioned a different dimension for treatment called Yukti. Yuktistu yojana yatu yujyate. Essentially, knowing that there are multiple variables and synchronizing them to find a perfect balance for the person before you. I think Dhara today is a perfect Yukti example where three different government sections have come together and have provided a Yukti Yojana in the form of Dhara, and I'm especially thankful to all of the organizers. And I'm also thankful for the second part that I see in the audience before me venerable senior Vaidyas, Dr. Parvaze sir, tomorrow Dr. Murlidhar Sharma is going to join us, Nambudri sir who comes to the hospital. And I must admit that it's not very common that practitioners who are the interface between society and Ayurveda and what essentially society looks upon as Ayurvedic healthcare are usually not commonly called upon to share their views, and I thank the organizers for the same. So the current scenario is extremely conducive for Ayurveda as mentioned by the Secretary Kotecha sir, and this is primarily because of the increasing awareness of limitations of conventional approaches. There's also, thanks to COVID, an increasing awareness for attaining health and retaining the same, and for that, in my private practice in Pune, Mumbai as well as in Bangalore, it is the first time in so many years that we have consistent people coming in for health consultations and not for disease conditions, which is what we are normally in the mode of practice in private practice. So that's a new domain, which also involves putting more inputs into understanding ahara as well as vihara and making it suitable to the 21st century person as a part of society and preparing individualized solutions, something which Gurmeet ji referred to earlier, and the increasing demand for Ayurvedic herbs, which is something which I will not be talking about in my talk. So this is my personal experience in Pune, Mumbai and Bangalore, that 80% or more of urban society patients who seek Ayurveda help do not choose Ayurveda as the first resort. They come to us as a secondary choice, primarily because they are aware now of the limitations and they would like to find better choices and be more in command of their health rather than be driven by pharmaceuticals. The second thing is that more and more patients are presenting with multi-systemic disorders, and the reason I refer to this is that the challenges which we face today are things which we need to resolve, and I am thankful that Kotecha sir is here, because our education system, our whole BMS MD curricula is from an era where Ayurveda was the first source of perhaps treatment. And the vision at that time was to make good quality medical practitioners who will be accessible to rural India as well as urban India. But at that time the population of India was rural centric, which is now shifting. And we, even as a student, when I was doing my graduation, post-graduation, was interning with the likes of Nanal Vaidya in Pune, We used to see patients with single disease, single gentleman. We were not adapt, or we were not exposed to seeing multiple diseases in the same individual, which is referred to as Vyadhi Sankar in the science. And our whole education system is based upon teaching one disease at a time. It's not based on teaching multiple diseases in the same individual. And that's why I say that these are the challenges, that the skill sets of graduates are not market ready. The diminishing availability, and to adapt traditional Ayurveda knowledge to geocultural specificity. Sir referred to Helsinki, but I travel to the US pretty regularly in the last 22 years. We need to adapt, and there are some things which can be learned only by experience. When I started using Gruta Kalpanas in the same volume that I do in India, in the US I found that patients reacted negatively. It's probably because the Gruta molecule is alien to their genetic pool. So the therapeutic dose for them, in my limited experience, was a few drops, and not in the volumes that we are accustomed to practicing in India, 30 ml, 50 ml, 250 ml. That doesn't necessarily work. So these kinds of experiences need to be built in without compromising the Shastra, and that's what I refer to in geocultural specificities. Another thing, and I speak this primarily in an Indian context, that we have few private sector indoor facilities, and hence the enabling mechanism of insurance etc. is not yet as strong. It's still stronger since the new government has enabled Indian medicine to be a part of insurance, but it's still not easy. And most important, that there are very, very fewer accessible centers of excellence where a Vaidya can refer for a second opinion. The likes of Nambudri sir, Parvez sir are very rare. And it's not always possible for us to send patients from elsewhere to their place. So we need to also create good centers of excellence, and I will perhaps lay out some of the ways which that could perhaps be achieved. So my firm belief is that better training and better mentoring in the form of CMEs can lead to a better future, and we need better design and adaptation of tools and technology. It was referred to by Kotecha of MI and AI, and I'll refer to in the same, as well as simulation centers. So the possible path ahead. So as I mentioned earlier, the BMS and MD program is structured probably around the MBBS and MD curriculum, and it is not wrong per se, but we need to also look at other models. One of the models which has been used in the 60s at McMaster University, it was primarily adapted in medicine, now it has been adapted across various disciplines, is the problem-based learning. And if you look at all the Samhitas and the Adhyayas, the students approach the Acharya asking about issues faced in clinical practice about a particular health issue. So the whole narration is based on problems. So probably the texts were more oriented towards problem-based learning than what we are doing right now. As a sequel to this, what happens is, as I mentioned earlier, teachers as well as experts lecture and share experience on singular diseases and not on multiple diseases. And hence students, when they complete their graduation and they come into practice, they face challenges because they have not been exposed to this kind of decision making where multiple components are there. It's there in the Shastra, no doubt. But being able to see cases, being able to see results is something which matters to that nascent budding Vaidya's mind. And teaching is usually in a classroom outside. If you look at the curriculum, in most institutions, 30 to 35% exposure of the student takes place to live patients in the last year of graduation. Because we have silos of the Ayurveda anatomy department, Ayurveda physiology department, and none of these students ever visit a hospital at all. Whereas actually, there is no reason why a student shouldn't visit a hospital from the first year itself. Some of them might be bored, they might walk out, which they do in any case. But let us at least facilitate the students to interact with healthy individuals and patients from the first year onwards. So can we revisualize our education program? So these are my solutions. We need to engage good experienced clinicians and see to it that students are exposed to Ayurveda algorithm based treatment, Avastha Anurup Chikitsa. And Charak, etc., Vagbhat have always said that we need to observe the minutest variables and then devise a treatment, which is essentially algorithm based treatment. We need to reintroduce the method of having honorary physicians who have no connection with the academia, but who come in and teach students because of their passion of teaching. Now, at least in Maharashtra, due to some malpractices, that system has been stopped across board for homeopathy colleges, teaching institutes, for allopathy teaching institutes, but that was something which was actually benefiting students of all pathies, having honoraries who come and contribute voluntarily their services and knowledge to students. And we also, perhaps Ayush department could help, collate experience-based writings in various Indian languages. The experience is based on the humble experience gained that when we published B.V. Gokhale, Mama Gokhale's writings 25 years ago, where C.P. Shukla, etc. had been to Pune, we struggled to sell the copies that we printed. And when we redid that program on the 100th birth anniversary of Mama Gokhale last year, we were out of supply because young students want experience-based writing and they are not always available in English or Hindi. So we could perhaps do that. An initiative which I thought I should, this is just new. A group of donors donated an ICU to the charity hospital where I work. And because of that, my students can see patients up to end care, up to terminal care. So Arishta Lakshanas, etc. can be observed by students in a patient. We get fresh cases of stroke nowadays, which we are not getting because we just didn't have the infrastructure in a charity hospital. And it also helps provide Ayurveda opportunities of Nasya, Basti, etc. for unmet medical needs in an ICU. Some of my colleagues are also doing the same at the Dinanath Mangeshkar Hospital's ICU also, of course with permission and dialogue, which takes time. It doesn't happen overnight, but if you persist, we can certainly contribute even in ICU care. Today's investigations are primarily designed to facilitate allopathic diagnosis, but perhaps using technology, using new sciences like blood rheology, which looks at biophysics of a blood drop, the volume of blood, the viscosity of blood, the amount of ingredients involved in the blood, the time required for it to disintegrate. So we have been doing that in Kaphavrutvat patients, where we find that the drop of blood takes a longer time to disintegrate. In Pittavrutvat, it takes a lesser time. These are just experiments, but if we have technology to guide us, we could perhaps come up with newer interpretations of available tools or create completely new. I was happy to see that one of the competition has given a recognition to the menstrual flow analyzer. We need such kinds of ideas to come forth. And all of our training is primarily based on patients, and if at all, because some hospitals unfortunately don't have patients. They have patients only when there is an inspection. And we need to have institutes where students can, if there is no patient available, then at least create a simulation center. And these are just examples of simulation centers elsewhere, and these are used for childbirth, for venesection, for venipuncture, etc. But for Ayurvedic Udar Parikshan, for Ayurvedic Nadi Parikshan, we could create simulation centers given the right kind of tie-up with Vaidyas, practicing Vaidyas, academicians in Ayurveda, as well as experts in that domain. So this is about multisensory labs, etc. These are there in MIT, Boston, and so on. You also have artificial hand, neurosensory tools to do that, and there are new machines which are coming in to help a Vaidya do pulse diagnosis. As I said earlier, Ayurveda students rarely meet healthy individuals, whereas our whole focus, 50%, is on Swasthya. So we should actually be putting more emphasis on taking field visits. We should certainly continue our visit to sanitary departments of government departments, but we should actually also take the students to healthy individuals in grounds and gymnasiums. Thank you. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to share my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and as token of our love, please accept. Very Ayurvedic gift. Our next speaker is Professor Navakant Bhatt, and I would like to take the liberty to say that he is member of a very rare breed. He is a hardcore technocrat from IIT and Stanford University, and has a keen interest and also very active in interdisciplinary sciences now. He is professor in nanotechnology department in the prestigious IISc, Indian Institute of Sciences, and now dean of interdisciplinary School of Interdisciplinary Sciences, and is very active in putting up the bringing up the hospital, which is going to be 800 bed hospital at IISc campus. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Firstly, again, let me thank the organizers, especially Professor Darshan Shankar, for inviting me here. As I was introduced, I'm an odd person out here. I'm a technologist with a specific focus on nanotechnology, but a lot of interest in healthcare, right? But even before this, you know, pre-COVID, we were conducting a lot of workshops for clinicians in our institute, in Nanotechnology Center, in collaboration with Rajiv Gandhi University of Health Sciences. And one of the clinicians group was specifically in Ayurveda, right? So while we had a clinicians group in allopathy, there was also a clinician group in Ayurveda to tell them what are the possibilities of nanotechnology for healthcare. But I wish we had a group which had both allopaths, Ayurvedic doctors together. You know, that is what we mean by nurturing interdisciplinarity for future, right? This multi-system dialogue is extremely important. So in this context, I will just spend some time to tell you, I mean, all of you are aware of this already, there is convergence in healthcare. Convergence of all kinds from technological perspective, but also convergence of all disciplines, right? You know, multiple disciplines of clinical care coming together, right? This is what is happening. On the other side, it was already mentioned a couple of times, the focus is on swasthya. Thanks to COVID, perhaps, the emphasis is going from, you know, hospital-centric care to treat diseases, to home care to make sure that everybody is well and they're not going into this trajectory of disease, right? So that is also a very interesting shift that is happening in healthcare all around the world. Now, with all that happening, if you look at how are we doing in providing healthcare to masses, there is a stark healthcare divide that we see. At the top, we have elite few, maybe, you know, 1 billion people in the world who have access to best healthcare, but there is a large majority, you know, which is not having even the basic healthcare, right? This is where I believe Ayurveda will also play a very, very important role. And, you know, what is enunciated by World Health Organization, 3 A's, availability and accessibility, and more importantly, affordability becomes extremely important in this context, right? So we are trying to address this, you know, because IIC has had more than 100 years of legacy in research in science and engineering, right? That was our focus. Now we are embarking on a, you know, new frontier, if you will, is to bring clinical sciences along with basic sciences and engineering technology, which is already out there, right? The idea is really to come up with deep science and technology based discoveries and innovations, and thereby create affordable healthcare to all. And only then I think we will be able to meet our PM's health vision that, you know, healthy citizen is a, you know, is something that we really want going forward in this country, right? So our emphasis is really to focus on clinical research and medical technologies. And in this endeavor, we would like to partner with all kinds of stakeholders. You know, this is a very, very diverse community that we have, right? Okay, so what are we planning to do? We are planning to set up, 832 bed hospital with emphasis on postgraduate and PhD training. MD PhD program is going to be the fulcrum of this initiative. And of course, this will have a lot of advanced technologies and all that, but that let me skip. This is how it will come up. But I want to spend a few minutes on this. In our country, we have excellent institutes, but they're all siloed. We have IITs which are only looking at technology. We have AIMS which only looks at medical sciences. We have ICERs which only look at basic sciences. Really, the time has come to move beyond that known position, right? So this is very common, in other countries in the West. What we plan to have is really admit students who already have their basic medical degree. MBBS degree could also be BAMS degree. We have been talking to Dr. Darshan Shankar how we can have a MD PhD program for Ayurveda also. But the idea is that they come in and they start spending time in clinics as well as in labs, both science and engineering labs. They sort of go back and forth, right? And they will work on MD thesis as well as PhD, spending equal time in clinic as well as the lab, right? That is the idea that we have, right? And this is a new idea, and there will always be a lot of hurdles, but we want to certainly overcome all those hurdles. And they will get both MD and PhD degree coterminous at the end of this journey by submitting a single thesis, right? That is the vision that we have, and we are working towards that. And I think in terms of the possibilities, we will be only limited by our imagination, right? In the context of this audience, I want to emphasize that we will have a center for integrative medicine, right? We really want to look at traditional systems of knowledge, especially Ayurveda, and perhaps, with whatever we can do, provide scientific underpinning for some of these activities. And this will be extremely important in all the non-communicable diseases. As you know, the healthcare burden has actually shifted from infectious diseases to non-communicable diseases today, right? So we also want to focus on that. And in addition, of course, infectious diseases will certainly be there, and we would also look at that. Considering our strength in technology and computer science and so on and so forth, this will also something that will be central piece of our initiative, right? I mean, this is, as Dr. Gurmeet, we have also been talking to Dr. Gurmeet, and, there's a lot of collaboration that is already going on. This genotype and phenotype personalized medicine, in Ayurveda is very well known, but in the so-called modern sciences, it's sort of, coming up now that, because of genotype and also phenotype, you may also have to think about personalized medicine. The same one size does not fit all. Perhaps you may want to do a customization. And there again, some of these technologies that we have will be extremely important going forward, right? So we also want to place equal emphasis on this, right? So I want to end this talk by, again spending this time on this importance of multi-system dialogue, right? This is not going to be easy. This is going to be extremely hard. Secretary Dr. Kotesha ji in his talk mentioned the goal to have Nobel Prize. In fact, that is possible. In my opinion, there is a case in point, this Artemisian, which essentially came out from Chinese traditional medicine, right? The pharmacologist in China, Tu Yoyo, got the the Nobel Prize in medicine for this discovery. But what I want to mention here is that how hard it is to really sort of go on this vector. This is Professor Padmanabhan. Some of you may know him. He was former director of IASC, himself a great scientist, biochemist. He has done a lot of work on curcumin, right? Haldi, right? And this, his one piece of work was that when you actually give this curcumin as a adjuvant along with art or artemisian, which is now a standard practice in treating malaria, it has a lot of very interesting, repercussions, right? There are a lot of work that he has done with animal models. But even for a person like Professor Padmanabhan, it was very difficult to really go through all the clinical trials and bring it into practice. In one of the interviews when this question was asked, he says this has been going on for many years. The problem is that there is confusion as to how to treat a natural molecule like curcumin, which does not satisfy the classical parameters of medicinal chemistry, right, as a drug. So its mechanism of action is different. This is very important, right? And it acts through creating an immune memory, right, to fight against the parasite long after it has disappeared. And now everybody is talking about T cells, immune memory, because of the COVID, right? You see, this is what he was saying. The mechanism is completely different. And he goes on to say that the aim is to prove our hypothesis that through curcumin doesn't kill the malaria, though it doesn't kill, it generates memory against those antigens, right, by producing antibodies or working in combination with T cell memory, right. So this is the kind of scientific underpinning that one can really think about by bringing diverse people, right, Ayurveda biology along with nanotechnology and molecular biology and so on and so forth, right. We sincerely hope that this is the kind of thing that we want to achieve in the next few decades to come, right. So with that, thank you for your attention.
Of our appreciation. Yeah, thank you. Thanks. It was a very encouraging talk, I think, I'm sure, for everybody. In place like IISc, if this kind of hospital, integrative hospital is coming up, then it's a big thing for all of us. It's a pleasure to invite our next speaker, Professor Bhushan Patwardhan sir. He has vast 40 years experience, and he goes on saying that it has to be evidence-based Ayurveda. Many such examples, but one of the example which he has been pioneer in that is Ayurgenomics. And there are many, and especially in COVID time, there is lot of research work which he has done. He will be talking about that. Sir is distinguished National Professor Ayush at Pune University, School of Integrative Health Science. He is President NAC and Vice President UGC. So over to you, sir, and pleasure to have you here.
Thank you, Ashwini, and thanks, Darshan and also Murthy. Fantastic job, 3 ministries coming together. And I was talking to that your budget needs to be multiply increased. The kind of activities which you are doing, they deserve really more budget to be given. And with Secretary Ayush Rajesh ji sitting here, I am sure it will happen, because once he looks into something, he sees that it happens. Thank you very much. I am so delighted to also witness Her Highness to be here. Thank you very much for being part of this. I am going to talk about mainly health care, and Ayush in integrative healthcare. And I asked this question whether this is a chimeric notion or is it a new normal. So now when I look at the chimeric notion, in mythology, you will find chimera normally are like monsters. In Greek mythology, if you see, most or even Chinese mythology, chimeras are monsters. And in our mythology, chimeras are deities, Narasimha, it's kind of a chimera. So the technology and the combination, if you look at the Nature, April 21, they have published the blastocyte of monkey-human chimeras. So this is not going to be only a fantasy. Things are coming into reality. And if you look at the new normal in USA, several institutions, in India, several institutions, Nimans we have here today, they already have started doing this integrative approaches to healthcare. So this is not new, but I am going to share with you something and leave it to you whether it's a chimeric notion or a new normal. Accepting Bohr Committee, because Bohr Committee very intelligently suppressed Indian knowledge system, and accepting that which happened in 1946, all other committees, Sokhe Committee, Chopra Committee, Pandit Committee, Dave Committee, Udupa, Mudliar, Srivastav, Bajaj, up to 12th plan, 11th and 12th plan, Darshan and I were part of it, We had so much of difficulty, including name only, integrative name. In our report, we had to struggle. But then Dr. Katoch came in at rescue, and we could actually push this very strongly in the 12th plan, and then subsequently you will see now that new strategy, new India strategy of Niti Aayog, followed by national health policy, very prominently and boldly talk about integrative approaches, and then national education policy, new education policy 2020, Dr. Kasturirangan also has talked about this very boldly. So it has been a long way on this side, you know. And if you look at what is happening globally, you know, China, Korea, Japan, America, Canada, European Union, Australia, all top medical schools are adopting it. I am happy that IISc has really taken the lead, because IISc or NIMANS or AIMS are like institutions where others follow, and this is something happening in India is very the vision what I really wanted to share with you is we are undergoing a integrative transition for good health and well-being. You know, on one side, because of COVID pandemic, we have witnessed what situation and what is the real status of our healthcare is. It exposed our healthcare in a way, you know. It is based on experimental approach completely. You know. Today we talk about evidence-based medicine, which involves science and technology, but it is all, there is experiential approach also. You know. Experience and experimentation needs to be together. Traditional medicine system, the traditional knowledge, wisdom is practice-based approach. You know, means practice-based evidence is equally important as evidence-based medicine. And when we talk about typical narrow approach of evidence-based medicine today, you will find all over the world it has been questioned now. The current approach is being questioned. The kind of clinical data which you believe and which you use as evidence is not reproducible. No, Ms. John Ivanides, if you look at his data, what he is talking about, it is eye-opener. So what is this is happening? Illness, sickness, drug-centric curative approach. Slowly, we are going into person, health, wellness-centric integrative approach, you know. So currently, we are in this domain, medical care, which is about disease, symptoms, and treatment. We are moving now into preventive care, which is about prognosis, diet and lifestyle based intervention, and we have to really go towards real healthcare, which is about public health and personalized medicine. You know why I am saying real healthcare? We use term healthcare, but in our mind we think of medical care, and we are equating health and medicine terms as synonyms, which they are not. You know, in reality, we are what we are giving. Typically, this is a Western notion, healthcare term. Why they started using term healthcare? Because the basics of healthcare they were to give. Nobody squats on road there. They get safe drinking water. So all these basics were taken care, and therefore healthcare they started. But we have a large and much complex challenges to attain. And so this opportunity of healthcare reforms which we are facing today, and with Niti Aayog, there has been a committee, and our report is likely to be finalized very soon. Rajiv was part of that, Darshan was part of it, you know, and Rajesh ji has given tremendous leadership at the government to transform all this. Because unless a ministerial support is there, and we all know that besides all this kind of effort, how much difficulty we still are facing to sell the real story, you know, what is needed for our country. If you look at what people need, you know, people need, they need choices. They need choices. But essentially, when you talk about healthcare, what is it about? It is about primary care. It is about family medicine and self-care, which what Darshan talked about, the fourth layer, Rajesh ji also mentioned. It is about disease diagnosis and prevention and public health. These four boxes are extremely important in healthcare. Now look at this. Modern medicine is able to give you communicable diseases, diagnosis, emergency medicine, acute care, palliative care, surgery, precision medicine. Fantastic advances have happened here. But look at this. Ayush systems, non-communicable diseases, chronic conditions, mental health and wellness, diet, nutrition, immunity, lifestyle behavior modification, personalized medicine. No, these are clear strengths of both the disciplines. We are not able to really integrate them or bring them together because we are not putting patient or person at the center. We are putting something else as our priority, you know. The most important component which is ignored in our country is this family physician, family medicine. That used to be strength of our entire system, which we are losing. And MD in family medicine is underway, and we are fighting to tell them that please keep eligibility open to all medical graduate. Why MD in family medicine should be only to allopathy? Because your MBBS is not giving them any of these new age skills which are required today. They are not giving them, So this, but I hope with everybody's effort we will succeed and we will be able to strengthen this. Now look at the power of traditional knowledge system. Dr. Vaidya Rajesh Kotecha, and I am so happy that he insists calling him as Vaidya Rajesh Kotecha. This kind of a Atma Sanman when we have, Atma Nirbhar Bharat transition will be much easier. Look at this, if you look at this Google Human Metabolic Network, such a complex map. After looking at this map, if you believe that one target we are going to discover one drug and we are going to do magic in drug like disease like diabetes, I think we are living in a fool's paradise. It is not going to happen because we are living in multigenic, polygenic, multi-target environment, and solutions are not going to be simple, The systems Ayurveda chart which you will see on the IIM campus here, which we produced in 2011, and systems Rasayana chart is expansion of just one small component or one small dot which is on this chart, expanded to this level, expanded to this level. So on this chart you will find that there are 230 knowledge points drawn from Ayurveda. Each knowledge point is a great idea, and each knowledge point can actually lead to what Rajeshji talked about, to a discovery, or what Professor Bhatt talked about, discovery. Not only 2015 UU2 for artemisinin, 2016 for autophagy, fasting related research, 2017 Nobel Prize, Dinacharya Ritucharya based, biological rhythms, 2018 Nobel Prize, cancer treatment, immune regulation, which relates to Rasayana therapy. All this actually what we do, when somebody discovers, we tell them that we knew it and it is in our Shastra. Professor Murthy, now we have to take a different route, We have to find out and we have to look at our knowledge systems as ideas, pool of ideas. And each of these ideas, be it Mahabhuta, Dosha, Dhatu, Mala, Ama, Agni, Kleda, Stara, Ojas, Dravya Guna, Rasa, Kosha, Prana, each of them is a noble idea, But we have to really put our minds and soul in it to expand it on further and bring in institutions like ISC, because I personally feel that it is our fiduciary responsibility as scientists working in India. If you are getting salary from public money, we have to look at our own knowledge systems. On the same theme, I wrote an editorial in Current Science some time back, and a similar editorial we wrote, Whose Duty Is It Anyway? And that was published in Annals of Neurology. As a conglomeration of all this, what I talked about, one very important thing has happened, and I must give credit to Vaidya Rajesh Kotecha and the entire Ayush Ministry. Prime Minister's vision and Prime Minister leadership. We have now, WHO has selected India to establish WHO Global Center for Traditional Medicine, which will be established in Jamnagar. And this is the center which is coming up for the first time now, under the WHO umbrella. Ayurveda, Ayush systems and traditional medicine will get a due global recognition to bring science out of it, synthesis evidence out of it, bring it in practice, and ultimate purpose will be, as you said, AAA, affordability, accessibility and availability of healthcare will be boosting. Ultimately, it will be a people-centric activity, and I am so happy to see here a lot of people. Not only in this hall, I know that hundreds of there are there outside. When I was traveling on this road, it was like a festivity, All people coming from different areas, different cultures, so happily walking around and looking around here. So I congratulate organizers for this fantastic organization, and I wish you all the best. Namaskar, Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
Sir, we just, sir, Bhushan sir. One small token, small gift from our side, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, as you can all see, that we have very speakers from very different areas. And one such, again, a very different speaker is Shri Rajiv Vasudevan, MD CEO of Ayurveda. And you can see that he is IIM Calcutta alumni. So not a medical doctor again, a technology person, then a management a person, and then now you can see that he is running chain of hospitals called Ayurveda, which the main point in that, unique point is that everything is insurance approved. And it's precision Ayurveda. So these two are very unique points for Ayurveda. And let's listen to Rajiv ji and let us know what is this precision Ayurveda which he is talking about.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ashwini. It's been a very invigorating morning. The diversity of opinions that have been expressed since the morning today. And I quite didn't know what to expect from some of the speakers whom I was hearing for the first time, but also the speakers I was hearing for I've heard before, still brought in certain nuances which I think for an old hand like me in Ayurveda is invigorating. I want to thank Professor Darshan Shankar and all the organizers, and also want to pay my namaste to all the esteemed Ayurveda Vaidyas who are present here. So in the time allotted to me, right, I want to quickly talk about Ayurveda services, right, and what does 2047 entail for us. When we talk about services, right, in this entire wide universe of Ayurveda, we tend to forget that how do we define service? And the fact that the nature of Ayurveda itself, whether I'm talking about ahara, vihara, vichara, aushadha, kriya, is in the nature of a service. So why I want to bring this very basic slide which is known to everybody is to highlight the point that when I look at all of this, I have to consider Siddhanta versus Paddhati. Chikitsa Siddhanta, Chikitsa Paddhati. When I look at Ayurveda as a Chikitsa Sampradaya, I think what has happened over the last 100 years or so, we lost focus on the fact that Ayurveda was between Vaidya and the Atura, where it was a personalized interaction leading to a personalized solution, where I would consider all these factors, even and based, as I think as previous speakers spoke, based on the Rogi Roga Avastha, right? Where is the Rogi? What is the status of the Rogi? The status of the Roga, Rogabala, Rogibala, Desha Kala, all that I'm customizing. And if I'm going to do, I can treat. I'm sorry. So if you take with diet lifestyle, you can correct many diseases. Where the Bala is high, the Roga Bala is low, just with diet and lifestyle you're able to change. On the other hand, if it's a little bit more mature, Ahara, Vihara, Aushadha, and then for a chronic disease, for a very severely impacting disease with multi-system impact, as was mentioned, you need Ahara, Vihara, Aushadha, Kriya and Vichara. So we tend to compartmentalize and have turned this into a unidimensional perspective, telling I look at only diet, I only look at medicine, I look at treatment, whereas I need to look at Chikitsa. And I want to say all these are integral parts, whatever I am doing, whichever part of the business I am. The context in which we are placed today, right? India 2047, this is a stated vision of the government. India will be the third largest economy. Unemployment will be zero. It will be a developed nation. This is clearly the vision that the government of India has. It's a laudable vision, next 25 years. The reality today in Indian healthcare, out-of-pocket expenses is over 60%. That is a reality, right? And 62%, the number is going back 20 years. So we don't know today's data. Maybe it is less, maybe it is more. The fact that there is a multi-generational health deficit happening today. Why I bring this up, it is not just the health problem of today, but the people of today are producing children who for the next 30 years will have a health deficit. So India, if you don't consider nutrition and going beyond just MMR and stuff like that, look at the fundamentals of are we having a healthy progeny, looking at the primal prevention and so on, very important. But Indian healthcare at 2047, what it potentially can be, is a leading contributor to that GDP. As in every developed nation, that would be also generating maximum employment for doctors, for paricharaks, and also for other kinds of administrative staff. Universal healthcare should be a reality in India by that time. A healthy nation, from the problems I told you, multi-generational health deficit, we should move to being a healthy nation. And of course, the flagship program of the government of India, which is Heal in India and Heal by India, is, I think, will evolve into something which is a big force for transformation. Heal in India, get the world to come to India, right? And we'll talk about this soon. And Heal by India is to send Indian health professionals to the world, right? And where does Ayurveda play? The diagram on the other side is representing a complex system. Why I bring that up, it's not very easy to just break up Ayurveda and say that, look at it unidimensionally and look at projecting what's going to happen in future by taking one or two issues. You need to go beyond that. So this slide is from psychology, Erik Erikson's 8 stages of psychosocial development. Why I bring this up, we are a multi-millennia old tradition. Yet in independent India, we are about 75 years old now. And we still have the problems of an infant. And why I bring this up, if you see this, I think if you see the first 4 stages, right? This cycle typically says that at any stage, if you want a fulfilling life or you want a mature system, you need ego integrity, right? So this actually typically in the 60th year of life, you need ego integrity, you need generativity versus stagnation. Typically in evolution, human beings, systems, everything goes into stagnation, lack of innovation, right? So we should not delude ourselves. We need to understand where we are today and where we need to go with a clear mind. So I want to tell that many of these issues, if we go back and look at any sector, there will be different kinds of problems. It is not that every sector solves every stage before it comes to the last stage. But I want to say Ayurveda needs to take cognizance of this particular thing. When you look at a Vision 2047, in a multi-parametric, multi-system, systems analysis, if you want to go into it, rather than just go and posit one vision that I want to do this and that becomes an outcome. What will be the outcome, the results? I need to take typically a scenario planning exercise. What is likely to happen? What is the probability? What are the different kinds of things that can happen? How do I prepare for each of these probabilities? Some more likely, some less likely, right? So whether I look at, so I'm taking some of the factors here, the first 4 or 5 are very important in looking at how do you approach this Vision 2047. So the focal issue, the first point there, right, for Ayurveda services is to what extent, in which specific areas, how can we make Ayurveda Chikitsa and where will it evolve into in the next 25 years? That's the question from a scenario planning that we should be looking at. And will Ayurveda mainstream? Can it mainstream? Right? We should not go just with just optimism. We need to understand, will it mainstream? And if it mainstreams, what is the nature of that mainstreaming? Therefore, this slide, I'll just take 2 minutes quickly. When you look at the key factors which are affecting healthcare or Ayurveda healthcare, and this is only specific to Ayurveda Chikitsa, is the top line, typically in a scenario planning exercise, you take a brainstorming, collect all the factors from everybody, all the stakeholders, and put down everything that can impact. So I'm bringing here, there is going to be an interplay between domestic versus MVT patient. Am I focusing on Ayurveda as Ayurveda Ahar, Ayurveda Aushadha, or Ayurveda Vihara? Or are we looking at medical care, therapeutic wellness, leisure wellness? Are we looking at preventive, curative, promotive, right? When I say promotive, it is rehabilitation plus health promotion. Are we looking at Roga Shamana, which is there happening in many clinics? Or are we talking about Roga Samprapti Vigatan at a whole person level, which you spoke about? Multiple systemic problems. What is this Ayurveda Chikitsa that we are talking about, right? We all need to come to a clarity and uniformity in that. Are we looking at public health, where the public at large are being impacted, or are we talking about niche Ayurveda, right? So we need to put a mirror. Are we looking at standalone or integrative? What is the proportion of that? So Rogi versus Roga. So this play, this will depend. All of this is going to be impacted, in my view, by this layer below. And I bring up the first important point, the payer system, right? How much do people who fund healthcare will fund Ayurveda? We know that Rajeshji, the ministry has been trying very hard to bring insurance and Ayushman Bharat into the purview, or Ayurveda into the purview of that. Unless this goes all out, unless the money comes into the system, you're not going to have the other wheels of the system grow. So whatever else we might say, modern medicine grew when insurance came, CGHS came, all of that came. If you don't get that engine pushing Ayurveda, you're not going to get that. Access to capital is going to be very important. I'll come to this. HRD, it's a common point, right? The human resource, quality and quantity. I want to bring one part, and thankfully Dr. Painse did touch upon many of the points that are relevant. My idea is not to go deep into what we need to do here, but just to state the point. If you want chikitsa, you want services to grow, it will be on a bedrock of well-trained physicians. Now, those well-trained physicians will have to know multiple things, including how to work with their counterparts in modern medicine. Not in competition, but as partners collaboratively. Right? The research, and this also involves paricharaks. If you do create only doctors without well-trained therapists, the sector won't grow. Third part is research, clarity on what are the research goals. Right? A lot of being talked about research. What are we doing research for? Is it only into some molecules? Is it into chikitsa? Is it into the totality of the public health system that we are creating? What are the health outcomes of the Ayurveda health system? So unless we look at what are the clarity and a unanimity that these are the three areas that we want to do research towards building evidence and put proper investment into it, that Vision 2047 will be stunted. It will be delayed. Then you look at safety record. I think we have to consider Ayurveda and Ayush systems of medicine somewhere along the line. If there is a safety issue which becomes public, it becomes a major issue, particularly when raw material availability becomes an issue and the quality, there is mass production happening. You're going to have also untrained doctors doing. If safety becomes an issue, that can set back the progress of the sector. And ultimately, the medicine part, you need raw material availability, quality raw material, and manufacturing process upgradation to bring in better standardization. All of this on a foundation of three things: an effective regulatory system. I'm a believer for Ayurveda, you need more regulation at this point than less regulation. You need to ensure that good Ayurveda is practiced. We don't just license anybody and everybody to practice Ayurveda. The medicine sector, the Ayurveda Ahar sector, everywhere we need effective regulation based on the principles of Ayurveda. We're talking about a chikitsa mindset. The mindset of chikitsa is that whether I'm giving aushadha or I'm giving ahar vihar, I still think in terms of how do I treat the person as a whole for this place time. That mindset change, till it comes, will break up Ayurveda into only one herb or one this thing or that thing. We have to look at Ayurveda as a complete repository of clinical capabilities. Finally, the identity of brand Ayurveda. Noted. So, brand Ayurveda, what does it mean to different people? So, external factors, our relative ability to influence. I was very glad to hear that when Vaidya Kotecha came back from Finland, the geopolitical, economic, social, at that level, gradually with the GTCM, there is a impact that we are creating now, but this is going to be a challenge. Can we enter a US market? Because regulatory hurdles will be there. So any country that you go into, we have to consider cultural, social, even you talked about Snehapana, the amount of quantity you can give, the cultural factors. So critical uncertainties, I would just want to bring it in the scenario planning exercise. Do we have adequate focus? Not do 100 things. Clarity on what we want to achieve. Excellence in what we do. Not just clap each other on our backs and say we're doing great things. Do excellence, invest into that, and seek synergies between different arms of the Ayurveda sector. This will require commitment, patience, and collaboration. My last slide, Ayurveda, I think second last slide, 4 scenarios. Typically in a scenario planning, Ayurveda will be a vibrant mainstream medical system in India. It may also be in select countries globally. It may become a mainstream medical system globally in 25 years. These are scenarios. There's also a 4th scenario. It does not fulfill its full potential unless we take into account the hard realities. The opportunity for India is to be a global healthcare destination powered by Ayurveda. I say Ayurveda is a Brahmastra for Indian healthcare, if it is used fully. Both standalone and integrative. Ayurveda is a rigorous, professional, accredited, regulated system of medicine, which will lead to a high-value ecosystem where doctors earn more, everybody earns more, and it's a profession with dignity. The final, to summarize everything, define and work towards 3, 5, 7, 10-year goals and milestones. Enable scale that will come through public health and payer engagement, Ayurveda as Chikitsa, brand identity, and I just want to bring this part here. Build a win-win alliance with modern medicine. We are not confronting them. We have to work as partners with them. Earn their respect. No, not everybody is an enemy. Everybody wants to work, collaborate. They're also patient-centric. One bad apple there does not make all of them bad. We need to work with them. We need to digitalize to leapfrog. And with that, we should also promote entrepreneurship so that doctors set up hospitals. And we have great achievements happening here. And with this, I come to my last slide. Namaste. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot for such a charged up talk, and as a token of our appreciation, thanks for coming. While listening to them, don't you all feel that we are moving towards Har Din, Har Ghar Ayurveda? So it's such a nice feeling. Let's all keep this steam on and move forward. There is some announcement for a half a minute. Varun needs our time, so let's.
You just have to move this. I don't think you both are able to watch it properly, right? Just a little bit, because
For the camera?
They will adjust.
They will adjust.
Is this good?
It's my pleasure to invite my own colleague Megha on stage. She is again MSc from IIT, then PhD from Stony Brook, then very prestigious awardee of very prestigious DBT Welcome Early Career Fellowship, for which she worked in NCBS, TIFR, and now doing very interesting work again in TDU. But she would be talking about her education efforts. But at research level, she's working on aspects of nourishment, especially the early life malnourishment and how it affects any animal's life. So over to you, Megha. You want to use the podium?
Use the podium, yes. All right, can you see if I can see? Can you just make it full screen, please? Right. Okay. Good morning, everybody. It's an absolute honor and pleasure to be on this stage talking about a subject that I never in my life imagined that I would be talking about. I'm also deeply honored because what I'm going to speak about today is not just the ambition of Ayurveda biology, but the honor I have been entrusted by my entire university to talk about our flagship efforts in the area of Ayurveda biology. Can I have my first slide, please? Right. All right. So I'm going to be giving a talk in terms of the granular details of what is going to be required to achieve the ambitions that have been stated by the vision speakers this morning. All of you have talked about the need to integrate Ayurveda with various systems. To power this discovery, especially the Nobel Prize, you are going to require human resource. And the training of this human resource requires an approach that combines disciplines. And here we have these two disciplines, Ayurveda and biology. Everybody in the audience would agree with me when we say that when we think about training in these fields today, we think of them as two different disciplines. If you wish to pursue Ayurveda, you would have to do it right after your 12th. If you wish to pursue natural sciences, you would do it right out of your 12th. Only you would do it in absolutely different institutions, and these two will never speak to each other again, academically or professionally. But if you think about it from an epistemological point of view, both Ayurveda and biology have actually more in common than less. Ayurveda, life, knowledge. Biology comes from the Greek word bio for life and logic or logia, logic. Thus, both these systems aim to understand change in biological systems. They have put it in very different words. So, what is this idea of Ayurveda biology? Ayurveda tends to look at life holistically, systematically. There are a number of observations. Today for us, biology has become a lot more reductionist. We want to understand what molecules do. But both these fields have their own set of limitations. What if we were to combine these fields together and strengthen our understanding to provide innovative solutions in all domains of healthcare? And that was one of the things that we tried to do with our competition as well. And so what we want and envision is Ayurveda biology as a discipline that can approach to study change in living systems through two cultural lenses simultaneously. Let us take the example of the word ahar. Very literally translated, it is food. But the Sanskrit word has a lot deeper meaning to it. It is ahar and nourishment. Just like food is to your body, ahar or nourishment can be music to your mind. And it is this type of assessment that we encourage in the Ayurveda biology program. To achieve all of these things that we've talked about today, we need capable scientists, capable Vaidyas. And so to bridge this gap, at TDU, we have our flagship program, the MSc Life Sciences Ayurveda Biology. What is this program? Our intention is simple: to start creating a dialogue between different professional streams and to provide these students the tools and techniques that are required in their respective domains to look at research and study problems in the world around them. This program aims not only to create an integrative effort, but importantly, the idea is neither to dilute Ayurveda nor biology. It is to discover and set the student on a path of self-discovery where they will explore both these domains simultaneously. I will give you an example from our program. Each one of the courses is decided and executed in an integrative manner. For example, in immunology, we just don't talk about T cells and B cells. We talk about Vyadika Shamatva as well as B cells and T cells. It is this continuous crosstalk between the two domains that is happening every day in every lecture that is important and necessary for our students to embrace both of these sciences together. We've also made a very conscious decision to include students from various different types of fields. So we have not just Ayurveda students, but also students from the natural sciences. Because this integration of learning can happen not only from teachers, but also from the students themselves. Finally, not just curricular, we are hoping that these students will graduate with a clear understanding of both these streams. Finally, to allow for the integration of molecular mechanisms with systemic Ayurveda interpretation. And just to borrow a word from Dr. Pense, he talked about the algorithmic approach that is required. So no matter what is the background of our students, we hope that they will be able to take enough to satisfy whatever it is that their life goals are in the area of medical sciences. Now, a lot of students ask us, what is Ayurveda biology and what can I do once I have an Ayurveda biology degree? So here we have listed some of the potential research areas that this discipline can address. Genomics, personalization of medicine, Rasayana or regenerative biology, food sciences and dietetics. I personally work in the area of malnutrition, and this is a very exciting time for us to try and see how traditional diets, food practices can be overlaid with the chemistry of food. Disease classification models, drug design. Now, originally, drug design, if you look at the pharmaceutical industry, over 50% of the drugs out in the market have some sort of natural product or natural chemistry that formed the basis. But this has been an entirely reductionist approach. There are several diseases that we have which cannot be addressed by just one particular tablet. And here we think that the drug discovery can happen at the level of the polyherbal formulations that Ayurveda has recommended, and how they can function at the systemic level. Finally, what we'd like to do is have a cadre of students, a resource personnel, no matter what are the ambitions that all of you have laid out today, be it for integrative healthcare, be it for research and Nobel Prize, be it for a better physician, be it for a better scientist. All of that is going to be underpinned by the type of students that you get. And unless we have a curricular framework that allows students to explore these domains simultaneously, I think we will not be able to aim the goals that we have set out for ourselves. So in conclusion, we hope that this Dhara and today's climate allows for the establishment of this discipline called Ayurveda biology. We hope that programs like ours and many others to come up in this country to build this cadre of resource personnel. And finally, these will lead to hopefully path-breaking, inspirational, innovative designs, much like what we saw in the competition today, in a number of different biological areas. Thank you.
Thanks, Megha, and as a token of appreciation from our university to you. Yeah. Sir, yeah. So we'll move on to talk by the PM Warrior, and I don't need to say anything much, but if I say just Arya Vaidyashala Kotakal, I think that's good enough. There should not be, we don't have a better words to introduce the PM Warrior. He is Managing Trustee and Chief Physician at Arya Vaidyashala Kotakal, and his awardee of State Dhanvantari Award, Kerala State Dhanvantari Award, and we are eager to say it's a very matter of pride for every Ayurvedic person who's working in field of Ayurveda, I think. When we say Arya Vaidyashala Kotakal, it's a moment of pride for us. Thank you, sir. Over to you. You would use that.
That's okay. No, that's okay. No, don't worry. My dear learned friends, at the very outset, I must express my deep sense of appreciation and gratitude to the organizers of Dhara Vision event for providing me with an opportunity to share my views with the learned professionals who have gathered here today. I have been asked to speak about the vision about Ayurveda industry in 2047. The healthcare system of Ayurveda has come of age in the past 2 decades or so. I am attempting to project what Ayurveda would be in the 100th year of our national independence. It may also worthwhile to briefly consider what Ayurveda was in 1947 at the time of our independence, as well as what is today after 75 years of our independence. That would be, in a way, provide the context within which we will be able to look at the future possibilities. Before taking a look at the future of Ayurveda, I need to present before you a few observations pertaining to the context. Firstly, I need to make it clear what I mean when I refer to the term Ayurveda industry. It is not just the domain of Ayurveda drug sector. In the present context, I would include the following domains under the general term of Ayurveda industry. 1. The domain of healthcare service. This domain will include both the hospital sector for the care of patients and the wellness sector for the care of leisure. 2. The domain of products. This domain will comprise several diverse sectors, including a sector for classical formulations, sector of medicinal products, which are takeoffs from classical knowledge, the sector of modern pharmacology-based drugs, the newly evolving sector of phytopharmaceuticals, the sector of the health aids and dietary supplements, and the FMCG sector for herbal cosmetics. All these sectors together form the domain of the product industry, each having its own process technology, market focus, user perception, etc. The domain of ancillary sectors include the material, resource-based management sector, and pharma technology sector. The product industry domain is critically dependent upon these two sectors for its growth and even sustenance. The health insurance sector is yet another ancillary industry which is likely to have a major role to play in the future growth of Ayurveda healthcare service domain. It must be realized that all these sectors function as individual industrial activities and they are treated as such in the economic terms. While talking about the future growth potential of Ayurveda industry in general, it is imperative that all these sub-components will also need to have plans to grow in a commensurate manner. At the dawn of independence, all of us know, the scope and reach of this national heritage of India were quite restricted. During those periods, it played a considerable role in extending healthcare support to vast segments of the rural population of our country. Yet, it did not have the pan-Indian reach. The important thing is that the sector did not receive any official patronage from the national policy makers for several decades subsequent to independence. That is what really throttled the growth of Ayurveda in independent India for quite some time. And the enhanced official patronage given to the system of modern biomedicine naturally resulted in further marginalization of the healthcare practice of Ayurveda in general and stunted the growth potential of every branch of its academics. Okay, yeah, sorry. This is the general context in which the future prospects of Ayurveda will need to be projected. Even in this context, it may be useful to keep in mind some numbers pertaining to the current status of Ayurveda. These slides quote some numbers which are regularly across in the public domain. One problem with the industrial and commercial segments of Ayurvedic sector is the abuse of authenticated and absence of authenticated and reliable data pertaining to its national level operations. As a result, we have no option other than to be guided by the stray data that are available in public domain. To start with, we are often told that 80% of the population use traditional medicine for their healthcare needs. Even the World Health Organization has quoted this number, but the fact remains that it is not corroborated by any objective data. It appears to be a loosely repeated number and its veracity is doubtful. There are some other data which in fact conflict with these numbers. For example, the National Sample Survey of India has reported in 2016 that only about 10% of the Indian citizens resort to any Ayush systems of healthcare. This applies to both rural and urban populations of the country. Kerala is reputed to have a long history of authentic practice of classical Ayurveda, which is quite popular among its population. The Kerala Shastra Sahitya Parishad, a non-profit organization of good standing, in the survey of the state's health status done in 2011, has found that only 7% of the Keralites depend on Ayurveda. These two reports suggest that Ayurveda is not accessed by about 90% of the Indian population, and these findings are corroborated by other trade data also. The National Economic Statement of the country before the COVID pandemic has reported that the modern medicine market is the size 2 lakh crores. Compared to that, Ayush market size is only 20,000 crores, which is just 10% of the modern pharma size. Similarly, the annual growth rate of Indian healthcare industry is reported to be 22%, whereas the annual growth rate of Ayurveda sector is not more than 5%. It is true that all these varied numbers may not be exactly comparable to each other in a point-to-point manner. However, they do generally indicate that the fact that even 75 years after India gained independence, the national healthcare heritage of Ayurveda has not really come to the mainstream healthcare scenario even in the country of its origin. The reasons for this predicament may be varied and complex. In any case, it is in the background of this situation that any vision statement about the future growth of Ayurveda industry could be made. Taking into account the emerging healthcare needs of the country and also the present status of the Ayurveda healthcare system, we may make a vision statement that the healthcare capabilities of Ayurveda should become accessible and affordable to at least 30% of the Indian citizens by 2047, when the country will be celebrating the centenary of its independence. 30% may seem to be rather a meager percentage for many, but what we must realize is that presently it's only 10% as per the official records, and that in another 25 years it needs to go up by another 15%, which actually means a 2.5 times jump from the current level of 14 crores people to 35 crores people. Looking at our track record, it is not going to be a main achievement if we manage to reach that level. In order to achieve the objective, there is a need for overall improvement and growth in all segments of Ayurveda. Let us take a look at some of the components which will contribute to the envisaged growth. There are about 3,900 hospitals corresponding to 61,000 bed capacity, and are about 30,000 dispensaries spread across the country providing Ayush healthcare service. About 70% of them provide Ayurveda care, and are about 3.7 lakhs registered Ayurvedic practitioners serving the country. This works about 50 practitioners per 1 lakh of citizens. The interesting fact is that during the last 10 years, the period from 2011 to 2021, there has been a reduction of about 9% in this number. These numbers will have to be more, numbers will have to be more than doubled in the next 25 years. It may be mentioned here that there is a little more than 400 teaching centers for Ayush with a capacity to admit 29,083 undergraduate students and 143 centers with a capacity to admit 5,014 PG students. This training capacity will necessarily be to be enhanced. Similar is the case in the availability of medicines. The earlier quoted value of rupees 20,000 crore of Ayush product market comprises many entities. The medicines meant for treatment will not be more than 50% of that quoted amount. This will have to necessarily increase multifold for catering to the increasing number of patients. There are about 7,000 Ayurveda drug manufacturing units in the country in 2021. There seem to be some core issues which render Ayurvedic manufacturing activity unviable. The number of units came down by about 9% during the last 1 decade. The situation has to change drastically for the overall growth of Ayurveda. One major issue is the difficulty in ensuring uninterrupted availability of raw materials of the right quality in the right quantity. The government may have to intervene in this regard in a major fashion through its arm of NMPB. Further, new research and new technology would be required for improving the cost of effectiveness of the drug manufacture in order to enhance the affordability factor. The present consideration excludes for the exports. There is an urgent need to empower both the product and service sectors of Ayurveda in order to equip them to meet global standards. The newly instituted Export Promotion Council for Ayush is a firm step in this direction. Even within India, the various regulatory agencies need to be sensitized in a manner suitable for the seamless growth of Ayurveda. And most significantly, the government needs to embark on a major program to spread awareness among the various segments of the society about the healthcare capabilities of Ayurveda. Presently, Ayurveda seems to operate within a rather hostile environment. It is gratifying to note that there have been new governmental initiatives in the recent times in this regard, encouraging health insurance sector to expand the reach of their coverage on Ayurveda will make Ayurveda acceptable to a special groups. In short, there is a need for all the stakeholders, including professionals, protagonists, scholars, researchers, institutions, drug sector and the government to come together and plan for concerted efforts in order to achieve the objective of rendering Ayurveda accessible to larger segments of the society. And I feel confident that this Dhara event will mark the beginning of such an effort. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah.
It's an honor to have you here. And as a token of our love, thank you, sir. Thank you. One request to audience to bear with us. Yeah, sure, sir. Yeah, sure. Sir. Mike.
Actually, I think there is a need of some correction, sir, for your topic. You have presented some data about, and then there is a lot of things happened. And there is a latest report, etc., how much % of Indian population is using Ayush or what is the size of the industry. So I would like to mention some corrections, if you allow, sir. First of all, the size of industry is growing at the rate of 17% CAGR, not 5%. The industry size is 140,000 crore, not 20,000 crore, 140,000 crore, as against 200,000 crore of pharma industry. So it's not small. And the third correction is about the participation. Actually, the NSSO, the NSSO format was not correct, so we had raised an objection that NSSO was not able to capture the real, kind of ground reality. So we worked with them. We have corrected their format, and we supported that activity. Now NSSO is doing exclusively a survey for Ayush presence into the population of India, all sectors. It is going on, and I would like to cite couple of real good publications. Like recently, we did a Ayush Sanjeevani based survey, and in Ayush Sanjeevani, we have captured 1.47 crore data sets, like more than 1% of the Indian population, and based on that, we found that during COVID, 89.9% Indian population have used Ayush. So it's not 10%. The problem is that when we look at this, we reduce our scope in the form of hospital and patient care. But there are a lot of other avenues where people use Ayush as a wisdom or as in their daily practice, so we need to capture that. So what I am trying to convey is that there is a huge potential. We need to capitalize, sir. But huge potential. And then just an example, that 25,000 plus crore rupees of investment is being done for the pharma sector in the terms of research, support system, PLI, and different labs, DBT, DSIR, and ICMR, as against the investment into this sector that we are trying to get more. But when you look at the size, like $18 billion as against $45 billion. $45 billion is with a lot of support, and this $18 billion is intrinsic, it is happening. So if we put like little bit more effort, it can match the, this pharma sector also. It's not a problem. Other suggestions are really very good, and then we all will work together. But I just wanted to correct little bit. I'm sorry for the, thank you.
With audience permission, I would like to take a 2 minutes break because some of the dignitaries would like to leave. So can we have a vision speaker and guest photograph here right in front of the banner? The backdrop has to be Jobin, the backdrop has to be the Can we do that quickly, just 2 minutes? Yeah, so that we can have all the vision speakers. Sir, Parvaji sir. With Secretary sir and Her Highness. No, but you can come, please. Because we will, yes, all speakers, whoever is there today. Varsha, can we have a quick photograph? Murthy sir, sir, aa jaiye aap. DS, yeah. So the next speaker is Vaidya Paravaje, MD Shushruta Hospital in Puttur. And you can ask, I think I am not the person who should talk. You can ask any student here. They can't stop praising him. He's such an excellent teacher, such an excellent clinician, and very different again, because if you say stroke in Dakshin Kannada, people will say Parvaje sir. You have to get treated by Parvaje sir. So it's that much popular, and I think I should get a chance. You should let me do a sabbatical with you sometime, and with that. Correct. For sabbatical, that's why I said to learn, to get a sabbatical. Yes. Okay, sir. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please. Next. Here it is. So, first of all, I am thankful to the organizers for giving this opportunity to share my views as a private practitioner, perspective for roadmap for Ayurveda in 2047. So, I am a private practitioner. I am actually swimming in the ocean. So, whether I will go down or swim for till 2047, that I want to discuss with you. So, first let us pray God Dhanvantari with the blessings of all gurus, Purva Vidyas and Apurva Vidyas. So, as a practitioner, Vaidya, what happens? Patient comes to us with the linga, Hetu Linga Vishadam Jnanam. Patient comes to us with all signs and symptoms. We have to find out what is its Hetu, cause. To that cause we have to treat. So, the logic of analyzing cause in Ayurveda is according to three doshas. Nasti rogo vina dosha. Nasti arogo also vina dosha. When doshas are in samavastha, there will be aroga. When doshas are in vishamavastha, there will be roga. So, that is why Sushruta says samadosha samadatmala kriyaha prasannatmendri manaha swasta itya vidhiyati. Samadosha means what? This question arises. Usually I ask all the students to come to my hospital, what do you mean by samadosha? Everyone tells, sorry, why it does not go back? Yeah. So, no one could answer. Last 20-25 years, I think I trained more than 3,000 students. No one could answer what do you mean by samadosha. So, they say vata pitta kapha sama. Is it dravyatah, kunatah, karmatah? So, what, how many doshas are there? According to Ayurveda, there will be dvida doshas. Dvida vatadaya, prakrita vata pitta kapha and vaikrita vata pitta kapha. What is prakrita vata pitta kapha? It is the causative for formation of the body. They are called as three dhatus. They are bija surupa for vaikrita vata pitta kapha. So, they do not decrease or increase from birth to death. At the time of birth, sir, even though all three doshas are in each individual, according to prominence of dosha, you call vata prakriti, pitta prakriti, kapha, dvidosha, sannipata prakriti. That is prakriti of the individual person. How much vata pitta kapha should be there in a given individual is decided by permutation combination of percentage of vata pitta kapha in shukra, artava, ahara, rasa and kala. So, this is prakriti of the person. Actually, this concept is based on a geometry. In geometry, if a given circle, if you do a triangle, vata pitta kapha, if human being is a 46 chromosomes, 46 centimeters diameter circle, you do 600, 700 billion people, 700 billion triangles. Each triangle will have its own perimeter or area. You see, it may be vata pitta kapha. A maximum a dosha in a person will be 50%, not more than that, because circle will broke. So, when we see in a civil engineer office, if you see its a perimeter, as told in Vagbata, samadosha is shrestha, ekadosha is nindya, whereas Dvidosha is Madhyama. It's a perimeter, you see. It's a mathematically proved. It's a geometry. Ayurveda is a mathematical based science. It is not biology. It's a mathematical based. On this basis, we all then comes what is Vaikrita, Vata, Pitta, Kapha. Vaikritastu, how it is formed? Mother takes food, it goes to womb, then Pachana occurs. Amaswarupa, Malaswarupa, you get Vata, Pitta, Kapha. How much it should be formed? It must be formed up to the extent of Prakrita, Vata, Pitta, Kapha. After Te Kaladi Vashena, if Swa Pramana, that much it is formed, that is health, Anugraha, it does all the functions in the body. Which one? Vaikrita, Vata, Pitta, Kapha. Whereas if it is Ruddhiksha Yogat, it causes all the diseases in the body. That is why health means if V1, P1, K1 is Vaikrita, Vata, Pitta, Kapha, V plus P plus K is Prakrita, Vata, Pitta, Kapha. Health means V plus P plus K equal to V1 plus P1 plus K1. So, by Kahalartha Karmana Yoga Hinyam Ithyadi Matraka, all these causes, this Vaikrita, Prakrita will not change. If it is changed, that is the death of a person. This Vaikrita, Vata, Pitta, Kapha increase or decrease causes a disease. As a Vaidya, sitting in a clinic, how this Prakupita Vata, Samuthana, how it increases, why it increases, I have to analyze. Where it has Sthana Samshaya, Adhisthana has happened, all three things you should increase. That is why Charaka says, Vikara Prakriti, which dosha involved in a given Vyadhi, how this has increased, where its Sthana Samshaya has happened. As in a 21st century Vaidya, I should utilize all modern available diagnostic or curative, all techniques. I should analyze this Vikara Prakriti, which how it has increased, where its Sthana Samshaya has happened. That is why, so for it is a diagnostic purpose, in the treatment purpose also, in Ayurveda we say Shamana and Shodhana. If it is increased, you should decrease, increase. That is Shamana or Shodhana you do. Then initially there was Kashtaushadis in Samhita Kala, then Rasaushadis adopted in India. Then in 21st century, we have all the battery of drugs from modern medicine, because patient comes with all drugs. We should know how it works according to Ayurveda. That is why in Chakradatta he says, Dimbasta Savirastu, Vatavittatmana, Kshinadadvyarattasya, Vatavittatmanasya, very severe condition, Amopi Stambaniya. If you Pachanat Marana Bhayat, if you wait for Amapachana, patient may die. So in that state he says, if you see all modern medicines, except antibiotics, all are Ramastama like analgesic steroids, receptor blockers. When drug is there, symptom is suppressed. When drug is removed, there is a symptom. When it is in a Atyayika Avastha or Yapya Avastha, we have to utilize in the time of emergency or in the time of a treatment. Or patient comes with this drug. They come, if in every person's home, in all population, there is a paracetamol. Before coming to us, they take a paracetamol, they come. We should know how it works. According to Ayurveda, it is a Amastambana Dravya. So, with this input, for a 2047, there should be a primary level practitioners, secondary level practitioners, tertiary level practitioners. Primary level practitioners will be able to treat primary level diseases as a preventive, curative or suppressive when a severe condition. Then they have to refer to a necessary doctor, a physician. For this practice should have integrated knowledge of all the system of medicine which we are practicing. In a secondary level, Ayurveda only, if they refer to Ayurveda doctor, they should have Ayurveda knowledge specific, or if a modern medicine you refer, they should have their own refer. In tertiary level, yes, disease specific speciality, as Dr. Pense has told, there will be disease specific knowledge. This should be always a should be always a disease specific. Everyone should have knowledge. You should not think a single level physician should treat. In a primary level, he is a family physician, a basic level physician. He should have all the knowledge. Then he should be referred. That referred second level will have specific level of knowledges. This is how then when they get the same number of patients, same patients of different disease, you will have same disease, different patients, you will have taratama bhava beda of dosha can be understood, then he can give a specific treatment. This is why we should have such a practitioner. For to achieve this, in the academic level, there should be training in both system of medicine, like anatomy, physiology, pharmacology. You can ask why pharmacology, because patient comes with all the drugs without knowing how it works, how we can treat, whether I should withdraw this drug or should I give Ayurveda drug. Without knowing, if I withdraw, there may be some event may happen to the patient. We should know. Then all basic, this is for about 3 years, they should have basic level knowledge, then clinical application level with the knowledge of Trivida Bodha of 3 doshas. You should Trivida Bodha of with you should analyze Samuthana Vishesha, Adhisthana Vishesha and Vikara Prakriti according to 3 doshas. All modern advanced diagnostic and treatment techniques you should analyze to understand Trivida Bodha of 3 dosha in Samuthana Vishesha and Adhisthana and Vikara Prakriti. You should utilize all these knowledge, we should go forward. So, as a specialization level, it should be trained to specific diseases by Guru Shishya Parampara in post graduation level. Then individual diseases also, I think already there is a in a traditional practice all over India, if you see there are specific specialized are there, Pakshagata specialist is there, bone specialist is there, Visha specialist is there. If you go to the society, it is there. But why can't you train the students in that speciality in specific areas? Then they will be, these primary level practitioners can refer to such a practitioners. Then you can in a 2047, I think we have all these practitioners. In authorities level, very important thing, there should be legal provisions to utilize modern advancement, Ayurveda diagnosis, modern advancements like modern techniques and in the both treatment aspect, diagnosis aspect, in a basic level practice and in the researchers level to understand modern advancement on the basis of Ayurveda Tridosha concept. Whatever researchers what we think today, what is happening is on the basis of modern bioscience researchers. What I am saying on the basis of this Tridosha concept itself, this modern researchers should be developed. Even Sushruta has told Satata Adhyana, Vadaha, Paratantra Avalokam, there should be a researchers was taking place in the certain time of Sushruta also. All the things, every knowledge perspective, this researchers should happen on the basis of this, utilizing this Tridosha concept in the Trivida Bodha. Then a very important thing is Acharya Seva by Guru Shishya Parampara. Like that you can develop the knowledge in the society, you can have the knowledgeable physicians in a disease specific or a second level system specific and primary level family physicians. Like that we can develop health system of Ayurveda, also whole system, health system of India. So I am very thankful to giving this opportunity to share my opinion to the organizers. With this I am very thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thanks. Please accept this. Our next speaker is Shri Umakant Soni, co-founder and CEO of Art Park, that is AI and Robotics Technology Park, which is supported, it's a venture, a very unique venture supported by DST, Departments of Science and Technology, and Government of India and IISc. Actually, AI and robotics is Greek and Latin for me, so I better not speak about it. But what I know is that he is very passionate about holistic healthcare and especially Ayurveda. And that's why we are very happy to invite you here, have you here and listen to you how AI, robotics and Ayurveda can work together. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot for inviting me. I think probably I'm one of the
Yeah, the digital part is also very important now. So thanks a lot. Yeah, and I'm realizing that I am actually standing between, the lunch. So I will try to be extremely conscious of the time as well. So this is a perspective that we've been trying to think about. A quick background of myself. I describe myself as 21 years of errors in building technology, product, strategy, investing. So you can see that I made a lot of errors, and we try to make more and more errors so that we can learn. And so very quickly, Art Park has been set up with a seed grant of 230 crores from Department of Science and Technology and Government of Karnataka. And the idea is to actually bring leapfrog AI and robotics innovations to life. We are working on three major areas. One is what we are thinking societal scale AI, and that's where some of the healthcare perspectives that we are thinking about come into being. Then we also have an Art Park innovation program, which is trying to bring new age startups to life. And then we've also started Art Venture Fund, which is a $100 million vehicle to fund these leapfrog companies as they emerge out of Art Park ecosystem. It's promoted by Institute of Science and supported by AI Foundry, an investment company that I started. And we are trying to work very closely with academia, government, and the startup and industry ecosystem. So it's a very unique institution in that perspective. And of course, as she was talking about, it's Greek and Latin, but yet it's actually having a huge impact. So I'll just quickly give you a bird's eye view. While AI gets described in one broad swath, it's a multitude of technologies coming together, and it's multiple waves. And it really took off when neural networks started to work on GPUs, and these machines started to mimic human-like behavior. We are seeing the early birth of wave 3, which we call as common sense AI. So it's not just getting applied in one narrow field, but you can take it broader. And you might have seen things like GPT-3, and people are trying to create interesting images with DALI. I'll not bore you with that, but what I'll tell you is the broad perspective with which the technology is moving. So you see, if you look at 1975, that was the peak of the industrial economy. The tangible assets was 5 times of the intangible one. By 2005, when the knowledge economy started to gain, it completely flipped. So the intangible became a much larger part. And by 2030 and 2047, we are going to have an intangible part of the economy which is going to be, almost 10x of the tangible one, and it's a massive change. And that's why it's important to understand by 2030 we will be having 7.5 billion human beings connected with 30 billion machines around them, which are also going to be intelligent in nature. And it's very important that whatever system that we are thinking of in future has to take advantage of the data and the intelligence gathering capability of these machines as well. And that is where we've been looking at what could emerge in future. And of course, all of this data connecting with multiple intelligent machines is going to throw up a change which is exponential in nature. And modern medicine finally started to talk about personalized medicine. But I feel it's not going to be a pill, but it's going to be a system. And when we think about it as a system, it actually compares very well to what we've been thinking about or talking about in Ayurveda. And that is where it's important to also look at the economic perspective, right? So if you look at, and this is a data from New York Times that I pulled up, if you look at 14% of the GDP going into healthcare is fundamentally unsustainable. And that's a very important perspective, because whatever system that we are thinking about, by 2047. Also, apart from it being effective and efficient, it also has to be economically sustainable. And that is where if we are thinking, so today if you look at the current model is you have primary, secondary, and lot of focus is on tertiary, because most of the health intervention is happening in a crisis model, right? I have a heart attack now, I have to get a massive intervention done, right? Or I have a stroke, I have to get a massive intervention done. Instead of that, if we shift the focus on well-being, prevention at scale, and that is a model that will work very well with India. And if I look at the history of Ayurveda, that is the model that has worked for a long time. So we have to think in terms of well-being, prevention at scale, early diagnosis by AI, biomarkers. We need to take a look at all of that, care workflow and follow-up. And they are much, much more smaller. So if I look at the future of healthcare, it's not building more hospitals, but it's going to be healthcare being everywhere. And this is where, for well-being, we need to think from a holistic perspective. What do I mean by that? And this is where we need to think from nutrition, we need to think about physical health, we need to think about environmental health, mental health, spiritual health, financial health, all of these aspects put together. And when we look at holistic in this deep way, and we've been, Dr. Gurmeet and us, we've been thinking about this for a long time, it has to also look into the constraints that we have, right? So we have 12 lakh allopathy doctors and 7.5 or 7.8 lakh Ayush doctors for 136 plus population, and by 2030 we might be 1.5 billion or so. So this is going to get even more skewed. So it's physically impossible for 20 lakh doctors to serve such a big and vast population, and that too economically. So that's where we need to think of a new perspective. So if I look at it, and this has been a big challenge, right? When we've been looking at traditional knowledge systems, we know these systems have worked over a period of time, but the effect that they are actually able to capture and they are able to provide treatments, they do not fall into our current system. So the current system is mass manufactured drugs and therapy and application at scale. So if I look at it, right, like we all have very individual traits, our brains are very different, our bodies are very different, but when we get fever, we take only one pill, paracetamol or any other thing. Now it's impossible, right? And this is where it's a big challenge, because clinical trials, everything has been built with this perspective in mind, that all of these drugs will be mass manufactured at scale. We will try to, so this is, if I look at the whole system, it is probably 50-60 years old system, right? So we need to reinvent this system as well, because a lot of effects based on which we are seeing that Ayurveda seems to work, maybe beyond the physical sensing capabilities of our systems today, right? We don't even have those. Maybe quantum sensing and other things might provide us with those reasons that why it's been working. But it has been proven in our system that these things have been working over a period of time. So we call it longitudinal data sets in AI. So if these longitudinal data sets are proving comprehensively that something is working, it's not that these things are pseudoscience, but maybe we don't have the sensing capability to properly understand them. So it's important to model them and then look at, okay, what can we derive in future? And that is where one of the things that we've been thinking about is that can we bring in, because the cost of sensors is coming down massively, right? I mean, I was actually reading about these ring that is available, and a lot of my friends are now using this ring to monitor their sleep, because sleep is a great indicator of health nowadays, right? Something that has been known to Ayurveda for a long period of time. Now people are, I'm wearing a watch and I'm actually also doing a lot of experiments with it. A lot of us actually have phones around us. So we are now capable of capturing a lot more data. And can we think about, this lot of this integrative approach merged with data and Ayurveda. So we already have a great foundation in terms of Ayurveda. Can we bring in the modern approaches in terms of capturing more data, figuring out what is it that we are doing, which is working, which is not working, and we can do that at scale. And that is where it's very, very important to understand. In fact, the mind-body approach, the whole approach that we're talking about, and yesterday I was actually at Nimhans, and we were actually having this conference on man-machine interface. And one of the things that really stood out, because he was from psychiatry background, and he said that, and this corroborates my experience as well, that the modern medicine, so-called, completely breaks down with neurological disorders, because brain is very, very unique, right? We have 2 eyes, even those eyes are very unique, that's why each one's cornea is different. Our ears are different. Our touch, everything is different, right? So the data that is going into the brain is different. So the way even the brain gets nurtured is very, very different. So each of us are born with unique brain. Now imagine if you have any seizure or anything, what is the modern medicine doing? They are practically dumbing it down. Till, so typically in neurological disorders, you go from one symptom to another symptom to another symptom. So you're not actually treating it fundamentally, but you're just migrating between systems. And that actually shows up the limitations of so-called modern approach. So the idea is that, okay, can we instead of looking at that modern approach, can we think about Ayurveda, which actually has a very strong foundation of personalized treatment, but it is incapacitated by the fact that there are lesser number of people practicing it, but we bring in technology to enhance and make it efficient and personalize at scale. And that is where we've been thinking about this. Can we think about Ayurveda 2.0, right? By merging ancient wisdom and modern technology, and how it could look like, right? So it could, maybe we could bootstrap it, not just with the data that we are capturing from Prakriti, right? But genomics, health records, environmental data. A lot of the data is now available. Some of the data we might have to do explicit test, but we could actually build a very comprehensive system. We could also, we have so many sensors around us. We could actually, through chatbots, easy way of capturing data, and we have seen that. I mean, we built this, we helped design this Arogya Setu chatbot. And you might have seen, or some of you might have even used that. We were so surprised that it got used across, the length and breadth of the country, and it worked. We also did another intervention called X-ray Setu, which was like, take a picture of X-ray, send it to us at the height of COVID wave. And we were so surprised that 10,000 plus doctors across 28 countries used it. So we realized that there is so much of power these new technologies have in terms of chatbots. They're very easy to use, and people can capture data and give it to us, and we can analyze it, and we can combine it with the ancient wisdom. So this is where we feel that if we can build this loop where we are actually capturing all of this data coupled with the foundation of Ayurveda, we can actually, and we throw it open to the community of users and the practitioners. So imagine that your Ayurveda doctor actually has access to a lot of this information, and in addition to the other things that they are capturing, they would be able to actually provide you with a lot more help. And even in terms of, so this is some interesting experiments that we've been doing by looking at, can we enhance, because while we have yoga practitioners, they're not available for everyone, or they're not able to help. So one person is able to help out maybe 200 people or 300 people. Can we build a system through which they can reach out to maybe 1,000 people at scale? Can they give personalized attention? Can they build a system? So this is something that is undergoing trial with one of the leading cricket academy because they seem to probably need it more. So what we are seeing is that by combining ancient wisdom and technology, maybe the vision forward is to actually have an integrated approach, what we call as holistic approach, something that was truly envisioned in the ancient time, and we can learn from it and build it up further. And that is where we feel it could be interesting future for all of us. This is an interesting movie that I saw some time back. It's called Blade Runner 2049. It's a very dark and dystopian movie, and it makes me aware of the choices that we are making. So I think when we are designing healthcare system of a future, interventions for future, the major part is the accessibility, right? Are we really able to make healthcare accessible to everyone? If not, then we will be actually creating a society of haves and have-nots. And during these COVID times, we actually all have learned very painfully that you might be healthy, but if your maid is not healthy, if the person that you are driving in the car with is not healthy, it is going to come back. And this is something that, you know, the ancient wisdom of Ayurveda also talks about, that healthcare is for everyone. With that thought, I will leave you for the lunch. Thank you.
Thanks so much. I understood like little bit now how we can talk to each other, AI and Ayurveda. Thanks. That's a token of our appreciation for you. Thank you. Yeah. So Her Highness and Secretary Sir have to leave now, so we'll just say bye-bye to them. Yeah. Wait, no, the talks are not over. There is one more talk, only Secretary Sir has to leave. Sorry, if there is any confusion about that. Madhusudan Chauhan ji has to speak and we all are eager to listen to him. Please be seated. The lunch is arranged in Adya Farms after this talk. Can I request the audience to be seated, please?
Hello. Am I audible?
Yeah, just to introduce him, when I visit my first ever World Ayurveda Congress, I heard Pratap Chauhan ji speaking and about Jiva, and I was so very impressed by the fact Jiva has made actually Ayurveda as a first choice merely because it is available all the time everywhere. This is a pioneering effort in telemedicine and Ayurveda, and it's really remarkable journey, and I'm sure Madhusudan ji will tell us more about it.
Right.
Thank you for coming and being with us.
So, namaskar. Thank you very much. I think the previous speaker was wrong. I am the guy standing between you and the lunch and not him. Welcome to the last talk. I'll try and keep it brief and crisp so the pitta doesn't get aggravated beyond the V and V1, P and P1. So quickly talking, before I get into my presentation, one thing I would really love to say that over the last 15 to 20 years, I've been going to health conferences, Ayurveda conferences, technology conferences. What is really heartening to see today, and this is for the first time I'm experiencing this, just like how different ministries are coming together to form one view of Bharat. The physicians, the scientists, the industry and the academia are converging on what should be the vision for Ayurveda moving forward. And two resounding learnings for me are one, it is not in hospitals, it is not in clinics, it is at home. And two, it does not move away from the core principle of looking at every individual as a unique individual and personalizing healthcare for their benefit. So those two are the key learnings that I take away from this convergence, and I'm very happy that the 9 speakers before me, whatever they've said, essentially makes my job easy, because the last slide that I will show you is essentially talking what everybody has just said and how it comes together. A quick background, this is important because telemedicine at Jiva started in 1995. This was at a time when private institutions did not have access to internet in the country. And we evolved that methodology in 2004, won the World Summit Award at Geneva, the only UN awarded project in Ayurveda, which was taking Ayurveda to the rural communities. The first Ayurveda app, if you see that phone, it was hard-coded onto the phone itself. To today, where we've done almost 4.5 million plus teleconsultations only. These are not physical consultations. It's in addition to this. 4.5 million consultations through the tele route only, created the largest personalized Ayurveda telemedicine that exists in the world, bringing technology innovations to see how personalized Ayurveda is delivered to the masses. In order to do this, Jiva undertook the first data-driven, big data analytical white paper which was published in a European journal, essentially to say that whatever is written in the Shastras is not mere traditional practices, it is rooted in proven what Dr. Saab had said before me, that it's a mathematical science, and if it is a mathematical science, it will show trends, it will show correlations, longitudinal studies which big data analytics can capture. 2, we created decision support systems for Ayurvedic doctor, wherein predictive algorithms work to help doctors identify which will be the right medicine combination for this unique case that the patient is presenting, basis the learning that the system has created of the 4.5 million consultations that it has done in the past. And moving on to a health app where the patient is always connected. With that background, I come and I present that what role does telemedicine play? What role does telemedicine play specifically in Ayurveda? Why Ayurveda? Why telemedicine? I will not spend too much time here. Accessible healthcare. Today, the country has 0.6 doctors per 1,000 people compared to the recommended average of 1 is per 1,000. 75% of these doctors are in the urban areas. So can you imagine the skew when 68% of the country still lives in the rural areas? The entire healthcare infrastructure is skewed in that direction. So how do you bring accessible healthcare? Another study by McKinsey, essentially if you study this graph, the darker circles are infectious diseases. And you see the disease burden between 2020 to 2040 is not coming from there. The disease burden is coming from what you call NCDs. So the diabetes, kidney, skin chronic disorders, digestive, metabolic disorders. So essentially the increasing burden of lifestyle disorders. And we've all spoken here that how these are not necessarily treated with an intervention only approach. It requires a whole system view. It requires a holistic view of addressing these problems, requires behavioral change, lifestyle adoption. Without this, we cannot tackle the disease burden that we're going to experience over the next 2 decades. Technology enables us, we all know this, and Ayurveda fundamentally is set up to be a whole system science. It does not only take into, Rajiv ji had spoken, the whole Ahar, Vihar, Vichar, and then Aushadhi. So Aushadhi is just one component of the entire treatment that's given out. Also the concept of Ayurveda where we are not bodies only, physical bodies only, we are Chikitsa Purusha, wherein what we are saying is that this is Sharir, Indriya, Manas and Atma. And as a body complex, it has to be treated as a body complex, not just merely as physical bodies where interventions are being made. So if we can combine the power of the two together, if two powers can come together to create, and I don't want to call it telemedicine because it reduces it down to a very smaller scope. I would like to call it something of a connected health. And the 3 key components of that are that it's personalized, it's affordable, and it's for all. It's accessible by all. So what does this connected health or digitalizing Ayurveda entail? What are some of the scenarios that play out? The Vaidya and the principles are being personalized at scale. And what this means is Ayurveda, which should not be reduced down to the ingredient only, where we try and find out the one magic Ramban and try and mass produce it for everybody. We should be able to understand the principle, utilize that principle, and yet be able to personalize at scale. There is an integrative and continuous care management. A doctor's visit is not a transactional visit where I go, he sees me for a couple of minutes and writes a prescription and then I'm out. It's a continuous care. That's what NCDs require. Can Ayurveda provide that along with technology enablers to provide healthcare that's anytime, anywhere? Today, I am a diabetic patient. I want to know that I am out for a wedding. What do I eat? How do I eat? And if I have by chance eaten something, what do I do to balance it off? So it's healthcare delivered anytime, anywhere. Ayurveda integrates with modern medicine, and I completely buy that view that these cannot be competing sciences. They have to be complementing, coexisting sciences. Second opinions and co-case management happens. There was a discussion earlier around centers of excellences in Ayurveda, but by the mere definition, centers of excellence are limited and not accessible to all. Telemedicine. Why can't a practicing doctor go to Dr. Saab and say that I am seeing this cardiovascular patient? Do you mind coming over a telemedicine and and providing what do I do, what Chikitsa Sutra do I apply with this patient. And thereby we are able to bring the best of both the worlds, not just integrating with the modern medicine, but integrating with the rest of the Ayurveda Chikitsa ecosystem as well. This, I feel, is the biggest uniqueness we have to offer of creating a new Bharatiya, a Bharat-based model of healthcare, which operates on the uniquenesses and strengths of what our knowledge systems have to offer, and not merely mimicking what a framework has been copied and pasted from the past onto the country. Teleconsults and ad delivery delivered to your doorstep, can that be utilized as a power mechanism of bringing Ayurvedic Chikitsa to countries outside the boundaries of Bharat? We all know that it may take still some time where Ayurveda gets recognized as a practicing science or a legal science in many countries. But can we use telemedicine to go to these patients? Because patients can choose. Many countries allow the patients to choose on their own healthcare system that they want to use. So Ayurveda treatment crosses borders. That's what we can create with combining technology, telemedicine and Ayurveda. However, I still feel this is not Vision 2047. This is probably Vision 2030. We should be able to do it in the next 5, 7, 10 years. Then what is the Vision 2047? I read this. This is very famous. It's outside our office, Swasthasya Swasthya Rakshanam. And very interestingly, in the Shastras, they put Swasthasya Swasthya Rakshanam before curative care. And it is not, I believe, it is not by accident, it is by design. Because Ayurveda, Swastha, the treatment block is at the core, it's definitely at the core, but then there is a larger core of wellness and well-being. And a bigger uniqueness that Ayurveda as a traditional science has that many other traditional practices lack, it differentiates Ayurveda from many other traditional practices, is a systematic body of knowledge of telling people a way of life. Very beautifully, I think Dr. Gurmeet had mentioned that it is not just about recommending what to eat, but what to eat, when to eat, how much to eat, and if you've eaten something you should not have eaten, how do you balance it off? So that entire way of life is what is going to bring the last component of connected health, health for all. Health for all is not achieved in the treatment block, because is our vision to make everybody sick? Our vision is not that. Our vision is to make an intervention so you don't need the treatment. That's what the role of a Vaidya should be. And in that context, truly we move from, we call ourselves healthcare, but we are not healthcare, we are disease care. We truly move to our naam, jo naamkaran hamara healthcare hai, we represent healthcare in its true form. How does it come together? I think obviously the health seeker is in the middle. Can we have every individual, just like I know I am an O positive blood group, I have an Aadhaar card, I have an identity. What is my Ayurveda health identity? Can every individual carry the Prakriti as a tag as we carry an Aadhaar card? It's a Swasthya Aadhaar card. Everybody knows what their Prakriti is, because that's the foundational block. There are IoTs and variables. The speaker before me, I think there is already evidence to see we are moving in that direction. We will achieve it before 2047 for sure, where there are biomarkers, there are technologies that are constantly monitoring your dosha, dhatu, and the variances in them as you go by. So Ayur-based biomarkers and nadi, dosha, dhatu sensors are available widely with connected applications and Ayurveda APIs. I think that's a uniqueness. I'm going to come to the Ayurveda APIs in a bit. And what that delivers is that today I wake up and I get a daily diet and nutrition recommendation. What should I eat today? I have traveled to Bangalore from Delhi. My desha has changed, and thereby what can I adapt to this desha? A lot of people, I was talking to somebody yesterday in one of the top e-commerce companies in the country, and half the people in the room were from North India, and they were saying how miserable they are because the food that they're eating is not adjusting with their body system. Fundamental problem is going to create a metabolic disorder 5 years down the line. Can we connect that? Vikriti balancing interventions and recommendations. So as soon as V becomes V1, can there be an alert like this, because I have 2 minutes left, saying I need to finish within 2 minutes, right? That's how we correct systems and organisms. Automated alerts based on Shat Kriya Kal. So Ayurveda beautifully mentions the 6 stages of disease manifestation. we only act on stage 5. Why? Everything else, every other training that we do tells us to look at early warnings, early alarms, and act and prevent. Why not in health we do it? So Ayurveda provides this entire framework for us to be able to act accordingly. And I don't believe Vaidya goes out of the system. Vaidya may change his role from disease care to health care, and may not happen by 2047. That may be too utopian. But the Vaidya is connected, the family Vaidya is connected and gets automatic alerts and is able to over tele-connect to you and give you recommendations. 2047, can we envision Ayurveda as a service? It's a platform. How UPI is, how ONDC is. Can we envision whoever develops it, a company, a set of companies, the government, but Ayurveda as a service, as a platform that Zomato knows I am a Pitta Prakriti, my Pitta is increasing, and it's able to show me options that I'm able to choose, and Zomato delivers it to me. There could be dark kitchens. There could be dark kitchens, cloud kitchens that are trained to cook as per Ayurveda principles and send to me what I need. So I think the biggest opportunity that we will have to unlock the economic value, the social value, the health value of Ayurveda is if we are able to curate these platforms. If Google can tell me what to show in my ad based on personalization, why can't we do this with our health? So thank you very much. I have 2 seconds left and lunch is served. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much. So nice to end our session on such a positive note, isn't it? So, as our token of our love, please accept. Thank you. So I'm sure even if lunch is delayed, none of us are complaining. Yeah? So tomorrow will be again a jam-packed program like this. So have a good breakfast and come because we will again have such program tomorrow. There is a program, cultural program at 4 today here in this hall, and please do come, and between the lunch and the 4 o'clock program, please do visit other places. Also the vision speakers are here. We did not give you opportunity to ask any questions. We did not keep a room for that at all. So but please talk to them, get hold of them, and also I think everybody is open. If you write to them, their emails are available. If you write to them, they will definitely get back to you. Thanks everybody. Thanks for staying back, and thanks to all the vision speakers. We are honored by your presence. Thanks a lot.